Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the July 25th, 2024 meeting of the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. At this point, could we have opening announcements, please?
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and planning department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the district court.
Thank you. Can we have a roll call now, please?
Yes, sir. Duell.
Here.
Mater.
Here.
McKay.
Here.
Fry.
Present.
Bill Johnson.
Here.
Blick is absent. Nix.
Here.
Klontz. Here. Warren.
Here.
Joe Johnson.
Here.
Miles is absent. Zimbelman. Here. Aldrich.
Here.
Williams Bay. Sir, I show 12 members present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of prior MAPC meeting minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. The first one is from July 27th, and I show that Blick was absent for that. Is there any discussion or a motion to approve?
Move for approval. Second.
Okay, Joe Johnson moved approval, and Mr. Williams Bay seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The next minutes were from July 11th, and I show that Joe Johnson and Mr. Zimbelman were absent from that meeting. Anybody have any comments or questions on the minutes of that meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Williams Bay, second by Mr. Mater. Excuse me, Mr. Warren. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And I'll make it shown I'm abstaining from the motion.
Abstain.
Okay. We do have a couple of BZA cases, but we'll go through and take what we can on consent. To begin with, subdivision cases 2.1, I'm going to request that we hear that just to get a brief update from staff on that one. 2.2 is sub 2024-00003, a Yellowstone edition. It is near West Pawnee and 119th Street West. Does anyone want to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public who wants to hear that case that's here? Not, we'll take that one on consent. Next, 2.3 is sub 2024-00035, final plat on property at West Pawnee and 119th Street. Again, anyone on the commission want to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public that would like to hear that case? If not, we'll take that one on consent. Next is sub 2024-00036, and that is a one-step final plat on West Pawnee Avenue and 167th Street West. Is there anyone on the council, on the commission that would like to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public that would like to hear that case? If not, we'll take that one on consent. Next is sub 2024-00037. It's one-step final plat at East 9th Street and North Hillside. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear that case? Anyone from the public here that would like to hear that case? If not, we'll take that on consent. We want to take these separately. You have a motion on the subdivision cases.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve items 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and 2.5 on consent.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bryan and Mr. Warren is the second. Okay, now we'll move, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, motion carries. Okay, now we have vacation items. We have one item, vacation 2024-00033. It's a request in the county located near 151st Street West and West Maple. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear this case? Is there anyone from the public here that would like to hear this case? If not, we'll take that on consent. Do I hear a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. Mader. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries.
And sir, we have Mr. Williams Bay as seconding that one.
Okay, sorry about that. Moving on to public hearings. 4.1 is Con 2024-00051, located near 167th Street North and West 95th Street. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear that case? Is there anyone from the public that would like to hear that case? If not, we'll take that one on consent. Next is zoning 2024-00022, located near East Lincoln and South Clifton Avenue. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear that case? Anyone from the public that would like to hear that case? Okay, we'll hear that case.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I believe for item 4.1, there was someone in the audience who,
Oh, excuse me, okay, I didn't see it. We'll hear 4.1.
I'm sorry, never mind, it was 4.2.
Okay. We'll take 4.1 on consent. We'll hear 4.2. 4.3 is Zone 2024-00032, and that is located near 53rd Street North and North Meridian Avenue. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear that case? We'll hear that case. 4.4, staff recommends denial, so we will hear that case.
Mr. Chairman, I will abstain from the vote on that.
Yes, thank you. And the 4.5 is a zoning change request from the city, and I'm going to request that we hear that case. And that is it for public items. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve item 4.1.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bill Johnson and a second by Mr. Who made that? Oh,
Mr. Nix.
Nix? Got it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, now we will dismiss the MAPC meeting and convene the BZA meeting. And if you go to the agenda on that, we have an approval of the minutes of the meeting on on June 27th. And I show that Joe Johnson, Mr. Simmelman, and Mr. Blick were absent. Did I miss anybody? Mr. Williams Bay. Okay,
Motion that we approve.
okay. Have a motion to approve by Mr. Fry, second by Mr. McKay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, the next item, staff recommends declining. We will hear that case. The next item 3 is BZA 2024-00042, and that is located near North Waco and North Jackson Avenue. Is there anyone on the commission that would like to hear that case, number 3? Is there anyone from the public that would like to hear that case? If not, we'll take that on consent. Do I hear a motion to, for consent on that case?
Approval of 00042.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Mr. Joe Johnson, Mr. Mader second. Warren, excuse me. Oh, hard to read lips when you're looking down. Anyway, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion, excuse me, ma'am.
I want on this one. I've never been here before, I apologize, but I want to speak on that lot.
You want to speak on item number 3, BZA 2024-00042? Okay, I'm sorry we missed you. Let's back up. We will hear that case, but it's number 3 on the agenda. Is that the correct case?
One for 9th and White 11, 12th and Jackson.
That's the case, okay.
Mr. Chairman, could you request the movement withdraw his motion and second, just for the record.
Yes, okay, we
I
have
move-
a motion by Mr. Johnson,
To withdraw.
Joe Johnson. I withdraw my second. Okay, and Mr. Warren withdraws his second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. So now we are going to back up to item number 2, which is BZA 2024-00040. And we will have a staff presentation.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission or Board of Zoning Appeals, Philip Zevenbergen for the record. BZA 2440 is a request for a variance to reduce the minimum lot width measured at the front setback line. Property is currently zoned single-family residential. However, a zone change to two-family residential is pending. The Planning Commission considered this a while back, and it just has not gone to City Council for final action at this time. The property is generally located 2 blocks south of West Central and 2 blocks west of Northwest Street at 516 North Tracy. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum lot width at the front setback line to 21.14 feet. The 0.3 acre property, as I said before, is located at 516 North Tracy. The purpose of this variance, as you can see here, the property's legal description is Lot 8, Block 7 of the Park Wild Edition. The applicant is in the process of a lot split to create parcel A, which is where the house that's addressed as 516 North Tracy is, and create parcel B, which they intend to develop with a duplex pending the zone change approval by City Council. If you want to go to the survey or the site plan, please. The lot split survey, this is oriented to where up is west, north is to the right. You can see here parcel B would become a flag lot and it would have access off of Tracy. The minimum lot width in SF5, which is what the property is currently zoned, is 50 feet. Upon rezoning to TF3, the minimum lot width is 35 feet. The zoning code defines the minimum lot width as the width of the lot measured at the front setback line. For both zoning classification, this front setback is 25 feet. So at 25 feet, we measure 21.14 feet, which does not meet the minimum. It is worth noting that the future development of a dwelling would take place back here behind these utility easements. And it would be the 60-foot lot width where the dwelling would be actually developed. Properties surrounding it are zoned SF5 and developed with single-family residential. There is some TF3 development in the area with some duplex development as well. Going into the 5 criteria, the very first one is the request is unique to this property. It was not created by the applicant. The applicant states a flag lot orientation and reduced minimum lot width is the only possible solution for the new development of this lot. An access and utility easement were an option and was considered. However, Public Works would not allow this orientation without a new public water line extension. A public utility extension is not practical for 2 units. Before I get into staff's response there, just some clarification what they're saying. If you go back to the survey, please. What they're talking about is if you were to split the lot where you create parcel A, which is the entire western half of the property, you'd have to require an access easement and utility easement in here in order to provide access and water service to parcel B in the back. What Public Works would require is the water main is in Tracy. In order to go across somebody else's property through an easement, they would require an extension of a public water line through the easement, from which at the end of the easement, the service line would then serve the dwellings on parcel B. By having parcel B access Tracy, they can do a private service line through the flag lot area to serve the dwellings instead. So that's what they're talking about there. Staff's analysis is staff does not agree with the statement. The applicant had the opportunity to propose a lot split with a different flag lot orientation. One thing I want to clarify in here, there's staff analysis in here that missed one key item. We talk about how they could create essentially this area up here at 35 feet. If you had done that and drew the proposed property line, it would actually go through the house. So there's kind of an update to the staff analysis. Really, essentially, staff's perspective is, though they're orienting it with a 21.14 lot width here, they did have the opportunity to create two separate parcels without a flag lot orientation. It wasn't the only option to do this, and though it was an expensive option, or is an expensive option to create a water line through there, it is still an option that could have been considered. So essentially, the staff analysis, though originally talking about a 35-foot split, which really is impossible based on where the house is, essentially is not the only option. The orientation and the requirement to potentially have an expensive water line extension is an action created by the applicant and not necessarily unique to the lot in question. Number two is granting of the variance would not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners. The applicant states reducing the minimum lot width has no impact on the rights of adjacent property owners. Staff agrees with this statement. The width of parcel B, where the proposed duplex is to be constructed, is 60 feet. The proposed reduction of the lot width is based on the Unified Zoning Code definition, where the lot width is measured at the front line setback. Number three is a strict application of the code would constitute an unnecessary hardship. The applicant states enforcing the minimum lot width requirements would require an access easement and utility easement extensions to serve a new structure on the lot. New public utility extensions are significantly more expensive than private service lines, and an unnecessary hardship. Again, the analysis on this needs to be updated, essentially to state what I said before of having it is still an option, though it is an expensive option. It is still a situation that is created by a hardship that is created by the applicant. Number four, the variance would not affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, general, or for harmonious development of the community. The applicant states that approval of variance would not adversely affect these items that I just stated. Instead, it will improve the neighborhood and clean up the dilapidated and neglected property. Staff did not agree with this statement. Approving a flag lot orientation where the minimum width at the front setback line is less than the required minimum does not promote harmonious development when the hardship is created by the applicant. Number five, the granting of the variance will not be opposed as general spirit intent of the code. The applicant states the intent of the minimum lot width is to ensure adequate buildable space. The proposed lot split meets the minimum lot size requirements, and the flag lot orientation necessitates a variance at the minimum lot width. The lot width at this location of the proposed building meets the zoning requirements. Again, staff does not agree with this. It is by choice that they're doing the flag lot orientation, which is a self-imposed hardship, and staff does not feel that it promotes harmonious development because it is not a unique situation to this property. It is the choice of the applicant by doing the lot split. Just as a reminder with some legal considerations, that an approval vote of a variance requires a total of 8 votes in order to approve it based on the BZA bylaws. So again, staff does not find that all 5 criteria are met. If the board does find that the 5 criteria are met, staff recommends the following conditions: that the site to be developed in general conformance with the site plan, and the reduction of the lot width applies only to the lot width as measured at the front setback line. The minimum lot width shall adhere to the Unified Zoning Code standards for the underlying zoning district for the area in which the structures would be built. Go through site pictures. Next picture, please. This is the land use map indicating mostly residential for the future land use map. Next picture. This is the site plan. Next picture. Next picture, please. Aerial map. Next picture. And I can stand for any questions.
Are there any questions from the council, the commission on this? Any questions or comments? If not, thank you. Is the agent or applicant present? If so, please come forward and give us your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Jordan Doom, Armstrong Land Survey, 1601 East Harry. As Philip pointed out, the main initial rejection on this was that the proposed lot split should have been 35 feet wide. That would have ran that property line through the house, which wasn't feasible. And that's why we have gone with this 21-foot wide lot split instead. The other argument was that we could have split it in front half and back half. That requires that public line extension. I don't know the exact dollar cost of a public water line extension, but I know it'd be significantly more expensive than just a private service line. That's why we are trying to propose this flag lot orientation instead. The minimum lot width is measured within this flag lot area. However, the build site is going to be on the back half, which is within that 60-foot area. So we feel like it meets requirements back there. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Yes, Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. Would that sewer line also have to be extended back to that area?
If you go to the lot split survey, there's actually a sewer line running back through there already. So the existing house on 516 is already connected to that. We have a proposed utility easement for that line to extend to that, and then a new line would be hooked up on this back building area.
Any other questions from the commission? Not, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this case? Please come forward and give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Robin Smith, 653 South Holyoke Street, Wichita, 67218. My question is this rental property or is this something for relatives to move into?
Staff, I don't know that that's a condition of this request, but can we?
Yeah, really, when it comes to the zoning code or even the variance for the lot split, there's no governance on whether or not it's
Right.
to become a rental or if it's just an additional dwelling for relatives to move in. It's really not pertinent to the case.
Okay, so
Thank you.
is there any other questions or comments? Does anybody else want to speak on this case? If not, I will bring it back to the agent or applicant, and you will have 2 minutes rebuttal.
I'll just point out that the main stick here was that the minimum lot width is measured within that flag lot area. No construction is going to be taking place in there. The construction is going to be on the back half where the lot does meet the minimum width requirement.
Thank you. Now we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. So does this is an exception or variance that will require a vote of 8 of the commission to approve?
That is correct.
I do have a question.
Yes.
And I guess this was for staff, or maybe it could be for legal, I'm not sure. We have to make our findings based on whether this meets or does not meet all 5 criteria, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
So that would need to be part of the motion. Are there any other comments from the commission on this? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
Move we concur with staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, and that includes it meets the 5 criteria.
So staff found that all 5 criteria did not meet. Is that your intention, Mr. Warren?
Staff, you're recommending staff recommendations for denial?
Yes.
Okay.
I withdraw.
Okay, we're recommending denial.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign, nay, no. So there's no nays and the motion carries yes.
Okay, just to reaffirm, there was no one who voted nay on that one?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will now move, we've done consent on the second. We'll move back to the MAPC meeting. No, 3. We took that on consent, didn't we? Oh, okay, right. Excuse me. Go ahead and let's hear from the staff.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Brad Etherly, and Senior Planner for MAPD. Here we are discussing case BZA 2024-00042. In this case, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow a duplex on a lot that does not meet the requirements for lot size according to the Unified Zoning Code. The property is zoned TF3, and it is a 0.12 acre property that is generally located 70 feet north of West 11th Street North and 135 feet west of North Waco Avenue at 1215 North Jackson Avenue. Duplexes are a permitted use in the TF3 district. However, the UZC requires a lot to have a minimum of 3,000 square feet per dwelling unit, which would be equal to 6,000 square foot for a duplex. This subject site contains approximately 5,165 square feet. All other zoning standards such as setbacks, lot width, and height requirements would still be required to be met if the variance was granted. As you can see by the zoning map, properties to the north, east, and south and west are all zoned TF3. Properties to the north, east, and west are all developed with single family dwellings. However, property to the south is developed with a duplex, and it is noted that that property is also the same size as the subject property that we're discussing today. There are several other duplexes within the immediate vicinity as well. A little case history: in 1886, the subject site was platted as part of the Llewellyn's third edition, and there are no other zoning cases associated with this site. The property is within the Midtown Neighborhood Plan area. Going to the 5 criteria for the granting of a variance. Number 1, the request is unique to this property and was not created by the applicant. The applicant states that this is an older neighborhood where the entire neighborhood is zoned TF3. This is an old plat where lots were 25 feet in width, and that lot lines have been shifted and lots combined to create the current configurations. This lot is less than the required minimum square footage for duplex, and this was done many years ago prior to the current ownership. The staff analysis is that staff is in agreement with the above statement. The subject site is zoned TF3, which would permit a duplex by right, and likely has been zoned this way since the adoption of the original zoning for the city of Wichita. The smaller square footage of the site is due to the site occupying 1.5 platted lots, when the standard practice in the area is developing a site with 2 platted lots. Criteria number 2, the granting of the variance will not adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners or residents. The applicant states that the property owner to the south has the same size lot with a duplex on it. The neighborhood has multiple lots that do not meet the minimum lot size. Staff is in agreement with the above statement. The proposed duplex development is shown to meet the standard setbacks within the TF3 district, and the proposed duplex development is akin to existing duplex to the south. Criteria number 3, the strict application of the provisions of the code would constitute an unnecessary hardship on the applicant. The applicant states the best use for the owner of this property is a duplex. Without the variance, the owner will not be able to proceed. And staff is in agreement with the above statement. Permitting a duplex to be developed on this site is in context with the existing duplex to the south. Criteria number 4, the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, general welfare, or harmonious development of the community. The applicant states the proposed use of the lot is common in the neighborhood. Many structures exist that do not have lots that meet the minimum lot size requirement. This variance will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Staff is in agreement with the above statement. The property to the south of the subject site is approximately the same size and is developed with a duplex. There are several single-family dwellings in the neighborhood that are on lots that do not meet the lot size requirements for single-family dwellings. In criteria number 5, the granting of the variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the code. The applicant states the intent of the blanket zoning for the entire neighborhood was probably to create diversity and encourage redevelopment of lots with older, dilapidated structures. This falls into that category. The lot is vacant, so this is not to correct a mistake, making the property non-complying. Staff is in agreement with the above statement. The variance will grant the applicant the opportunity to develop a vacant lot. Staff believes that the requested variance is in line with the city's plan for this neighborhood. If we can go to the site pictures. This is looking west into the site. Next picture. This is looking north away from the site. Next picture. Looking east across the street. Next picture. That is not looking south away from the site. That is the wrong picture. I apologize. The recommendation of staff is that the request to reduce the minimum lot size for duplex construction does meet the 5 criteria to grant the variance, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Are there any questions from the commission of staff at this time? Not, thank you. Is the agent or applicant present? Please give us your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes.
Kirk Miller, 117 East Lewis, KE Miller Engineering. I'm the agent. We agree with the staff comments, and I'd be happy to try and answer any questions.
Anyone on the commission have questions of the agent? Not, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone from the public here that would like to comment on this case? Please go to the mic and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Teresa Roman. I live at 1223 North Jackson Avenue, Wichita, Kansas, 67203. I apologize, I've never been here before, but I'm calling because the lot, it's smaller than what it looks. There's a duplex to the south of it, but it is small. There's no yard and nothing. There's kids that live in the front part and they play ball in the yards. They broke 2 of my rose bushes already playing. If that's gonna be a family duplex, where are they gonna put the kids to play? The parking is in the back. There's nothing in the front. You know, I might not know all these measurements, but you know, my house is 50 by 142. Mine was a brick house they showed on the picture. And I've been there 28 and a half years. And it's not zoned to me for a family. There was always been a single house there. There was a duplex before, but it was like a house. And it was adults in there. And there's adults that live in the other back of the south, but the kids live in the front. And the other kids, yeah, they don't have yards. They play in the yard in the street. And what are they gonna do? There's not enough room for a duplex. A house, yeah, maybe, but not a duplex. And especially a family one, especially because a family is a family and it contains kids. And that little lot is narrow. I lived there 28 years, and it's always been, there was a duplex before, but it was a big house. And they didn't have any kids really. They all went to college and stuff. But then there was a house there before, it was a big house, and 5 university guys lived there because the father of one of the guys bought it made a house. It burned down, so it's been like that ever since. And the kids in the area use that lot for soccer. That's what they use it for. And, you know, if there's a duplex there, where are the kids gonna play? You know, I don't have kids, I have little kids. All my grandkids and great-grandkids are all older. But the young ones that are coming in, they wanna put a duplex there for family. Where are the kids gonna play in the street? You know, I see it every day. You know, they don't live there. I don't know if they just want to line their pockets or what, but, you know, I'm sorry. That's just the way it goes. And that's pretty much all the areas. You know, if you want to put a duplex, put it where they have room. You know, there's no room there for kids. As it is, they want us to live like sardines, you know, put the block there, put the duplex there. The people next door, they're going to be all scrunched, you know. I don't mind if they build, but build something that's more for the people of the area, not for people that don't, you know, have no say.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was
Appreciate
all
your
I wanted to say.
comments. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this case? Then I will return to the applicant or agent. You will have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
As you can see on the earlier maps, the whole neighborhood is on duplex, so it's not out of character to have the duplex in this. Apparently, there used to be a duplex on this site. We find now a lot of neighborhoods, older neighborhoods, as houses fall apart, get removed, whatever, it's really more efficient to put a duplex into some of those because it just doesn't, you can't build a cheap house that fits the neighborhood value sometimes. You know, if your neighborhood's $100,000 houses, you can't really build a $100,000 house anymore. But if you can build a $200,000 duplex, you basically build $200,000 houses. So we're just asking for approval of this. The only thing we're trying to address is get past the minimum lot size requirement, which changed a number of years ago. The duplex to the south didn't have that requirement, which is why it's there. But at some point they changed the requirement, so we don't have enough lot even to do an adjustment. We're just short of making an adjustment work, administrative adjustment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it back to the commission for action, and I would remind you that this will require, the motion will require that it meets all 5 items of the age of the case, grant the variance, excuse me, and it will require a vote of 8 to pass.
Mr. Chairman, I'll have to abstain from this.
Okay, Mr. McKay will abstain. Mr. Aldridge.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance request and that it does meet the 5 criteria requirements set for the variance.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Aldridge, second by Mr. Warren. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Now we will dismiss the BZA meeting and return to the Planning Commission meeting. And we are back to item 2.1. And I'd like to call on staff for a brief review of what that case is about.
Greg Sharon, planning staff, give an update on the Miller to Graffenried addition. This was heard last week at the subdivision committee meeting. And at that meeting, it was noted that there was a Evergy transmission line that ran through the property through the plat, and the transmission team at Evergy wanted some clarification on drainage activities that were going to be being part underneath that transmission line. The applicant, within the past week, the agent has been working with the Evergy transmission team, and I've gotten an email today at 1 p.m. from Evergy stating that the agent has provided spot elevations, and what was depicted on the spot elevations corresponds to the final drainage plan, and they have no further comments on drainage. So Evergy has approved the drainage plan, so this plat can be moved forward and approved if need be.
Thank you. Any questions of staff from the commission? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second by Mr. Bill Johnson, seconded by Mr. McKay. And since this is just an update of a case that there was no objection to begin with, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I just want to note for the record that Mr. Aldrich was not in the room for the vote, so this vote is 11-0.
Okay, thank you. So we are to case 4.2, if my records are correct here. Zoning 2024-00022.
Good afternoon, everyone. Christina Reith with planning staff. This is case number zone 2024-00022. The applicant for this case is requesting a zone change from two-family residential, TF3, to multifamily residential, MF18. The property is generally located on the northwest corner of East Lincoln Street and South Clifton Avenue. It is currently vacant. The city of Wichita has owned this property as a right-of-way and is currently in the process of selling this property. If you look within our systems, it does not have an official zoning. However, the zoning administrator has determined that given the context of the surrounding zoning, so everything that you see here in yellow, that is TF3. So that is why they're making this request. So the purpose of the zone change request is to build duplexes on site, which are already permitted by right. But however, given the shape of the lots, with respect to the setback requirements and the minimum lot size in that current zoning, that is why they decided to move forward with MF18. So the requested zone change would permit more uses on site than the current zoning, namely multifamily development at a higher density. But the amount of units that are allowed on this lot, or really within anything in MF18 zoning, is dependent on the acreage of the lot. So I have a table in the report here of the differences between those setbacks. And they, once they have like a sort of site plan, which is for the building and construction department, if they wish to have any of those setbacks reduced administratively, they can do so through the planning department. The Unified Zoning Code requires compatibility standards for side and rear lot lines of properties zoned MF18. So should this request be approved, it is within 500 feet of a property zone, TF3. And so so based on how where they situate the duplexes is dependent on, again, the TF3 zoning. So it can only be so high and it can only be so close to the property lines. If they decide to configure the duplexes in a way that constitutes multifamily, they will be required to screen the property where it is adjacent to TF3 zoning, as well as plant at least one shade tree or 2 ornamental trees per linear foot, and that is per the provisions of the Wichita Landscape Ordinance. As you can see, everything here in yellow is zoned TF3, and the property to the east is zoned PUD. That is developed with a convent that is currently in the process of being deconstructed. This property was platted in 1887. In the 1950s, the city of Wichita acquired the property and removed the dwellings on site to create that current right-of-way. The requested zone change is in conformance with the Community Investments Plan. The 2035 Future Growth Concept Map identifies this area as appropriate for residential uses, which includes single-family, two-family, and multifamily residences. When we look at the Community Investment Plan's locational guidelines, they say that, in terms of land use compatibility, accessory dwelling units, duplexes, and small-scale multifamily developments can be appropriate in existing residential areas if the appropriate site design limits adverse impacts on surrounding residential uses, the design of the buildings is compatible with the existing residences, and the scale of the development is compatible with the intensity of the surrounding area. So I did take a look at this area, and there are multiple duplexes in existence in the current zoning within one block of the subject site. When we look at the Wichita Places for People plan, they provide a list of strategies in order to create a more walkable, multimodal environment for the city of Wichita within the established central area. So strategy 5 talks about providing a diversity of housing options. Strategy 6 talks about encouraging infill and redevelopment. Based on the information available prior to the public hearings, planning staff recommends that the request to MF18 be approved, and this recommendation is based on the golden rules that we apply to every zoning case. At the time the staff report was prepared, staff received one phone call in opposition to the requested zone change. I have received multiple phone calls regarding their opposition to the requested zone change. So let's go through the site photos, please. This is looking west towards the site. Next slide, please. This is looking north towards the site. Next slide, please. This is looking south away from the site. You can see the curve and where the right-of-way used to be. Next slide, please. This is looking east away from the site towards the convent. Next slide, please. And there's an aerial again. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Are there any questions of staff from the commission? Hearing none, we'll call on the agent or applicant to come forward, give us your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes.
Kirk Miller, K.E. Miller Engineering, 117 East Lewis. I'm the agent, and we're fine with staff comments. The reason we're requesting the MF18, even though it's already zoned TF3, is just because of the odd shape of the lot. To put, I mean, it's a decent sized lot, but to get two duplexes on there, it just doesn't meet the criteria that we would be able to meet if it was zoned MF18. Be glad to answer any questions.
Yes, Mr. Zimmelman.
Are you proposing to treat this as one big lot or two separate lots still?
It'd be treated as one big lot.
Any other questions of the applicant? If not, thank you. Now we'll call on anybody from the public that would like to talk on this case. Do we have anyone from the public? Please come forward and give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Is there any chance that I can request 1 extra minute? I'm going to play it on my age at 81 years old and my one brain cell that is extremely overworked today.
Okay, we'll try to do the best you can with the allotted time, and we'll deal with it when you get to that point.
My name is Charlotte Jones. I live at 845 South Clifton Avenue. I can't believe this lot was sold by the city to have a home or duplex built on the busy and dangerous corner. These are smart, educated people. There were 3 people when staff report was prepared. Staff received the comments from the public about the concerns regarding the traffic and the parking. I have lived at 845 South Clifton for 20 years, next to the empty lot on the corner of Lincoln and Clifton. I'm going to list 3 of the accidents that happened at my home and my home behind me. First, a car came around a corner fast. It's a very fast curve. Jumped the curb and knocked down 2 of my evergreen bushes and destroyed my flower garden. Second, this one was a little more serious. Came across the lot alongside of my house, knocked the whole corner of my back fence down, went across the alley, went through their backyard fence, crashed into their fireplace in their home. That address was 846 South Vester. Third is police were chasing a stolen car. The car came around the curve heading east and turned into my driveway, went past my car and parked between the houses. The police didn't see him pull in. They kept going. It took a few minutes for them to come back around. By that time, the man had ran away. No damages, just scary. Now, also on my block, Clifton and Lincoln, there was an SUV that lost control and flipped in the yard of the 4th house from me, and he went through the windshield. A truck went through the convent iron gate. He flipped after hitting a tree. A sports car flipped over and landed on its top in front of the convent right before the gate. There are 20 wrecks listed. We didn't get too much cooperation from the police records. Our vice president of Longview Neighborhood Association pulled some of them up on the computer. They have been listed by code number, so it doesn't really show or explain how bad the wrecks were. The worst of all of this building is cramming it on the corner, the duplexes, with families and children playing in the front yard. The people lose control of their cars and go in any direction. They actually speed up when they get to the curb. We have a lot of race car drivers. I asked a police officer, why don't they put a radar on Moore Street? He told me we don't have enough officers to do that. If you all make this decision to build it, will be heartbreaking to see someone get hit or hurt.
Ma'am, your time is up. We can give you 1 more minute.
You are?
Yes.
If you all make this decision to build it, will be heartbreaking to see someone get hit or hurt. The responsibility is a heavy one. I have prayed for all of you to make the right decision. I know the city needs money, but this lot is low-income area and shouldn't be built on at all. The small amount isn't going to break the budget that much on this small lot. Just think of the people in the area. Where is the entrance and exit go? Would there be a wall along the street? Worried about the children playing out front? Will it be low-income housing? Can you make entrance through alley? Backing out of driveways onto Lincoln when they can't see around the corner is dangerous. We have gotten reports off the computer of R.J. McLean Homes and Josh Wilson owner. Below average construction, bad choice, and tenants, leased, rented homes and apartment. The list goes on. We're worried about, okay, I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Charlotte
comments, ma'am.
Jones.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak
I have a
on
question.
this?
Ma'am, can you take the mouse, ma'am? Ma'am, I have a question for you. Can you take the mouse? Can you take the mouse and show us where
Get
you
the
live?
first
please?
applicant back up for a minute.
This,
Just show us where you live.
I live right there. I live in this house. There was an old house here in 78, it was destroyed. This is the entrance to the convent. The convent will be destroyed, but there's prison care homes and business offices on that land that will always be.
Okay, thanks for coming back up. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this case? Anyone else? Okay, please approach the podium and give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Deborah Cochran, and I live at 1143 North Old Manor Road, Wichita, Kansas, 67208. Charlotte's been a best friend of mine for over 45 years. So I go to her house quite often, and I am a good driver, knock on wood, haven't had tickets in, I think, over 40 years. But that is a very dangerous place. I mean, I triple check when I'm going out driving back out into that street. I've almost been caught several times because of the curve. You cannot totally see. You don't have a line of vision to tell if somebody is speeding through on either side. So you have to make a split decision. You have to back out quickly, be able to get your car put into drive and go in the direction that you need to go. For children, this would be an extreme danger. Even for adults, you know, even young adults, this is going to be a very dangerous area. And I have seen, along with her, multiple vehicle accidents that continue to occur because of that curved area. It's just a dangerous area. I don't know how you're going to prevent continued accidents unless you put a stoplight at both ends of that curved area. If you do have families with children, and I worked with Department of Children and Family Services for over 30 years, so I've worked in abuse and neglect. I've also worked with Adult Protective Services, working with people that were over 60 or disabled. Those people are going to be at an extreme high risk of harm or death if you build a duplex there, which will probably have small children. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Deborah Cochran, 1143 North Old Manor Road, Wichita, Kansas.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes. Nope, that was the previous speaker. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this case from the public? If not, we'll call the applicant and agent back. You'll have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
I guess I should probably point out the applicant's plan is to access through the alley here, have parking back here. So they would be facing out as they'd be pulling out onto Lincoln Street, not backing out onto Lincoln. So it'd be a little bit safer than people that are trying to back out of these houses over here.
Mr. Warren.
Kirk, is that on all 4 units?
Yeah, they would have, the units would be here and then the parking would be back right along here. And then they would be able to drive out.
Thank you.
Mr. Williams Bay.
Yeah, is that alley paved or are you planning on paving it?
It'll have to be paved.
Any other questions of the, yes, Mr. Mader.
Just clarification on that. Your developer will be responsible for paving the alley?
Yes, he'll need to take care of that. He needs the
So
pavement.
it won't be by petition and cost both sides of the alley, they'll carry all the cost?
No, if he petitioned it, it'd still be all on him.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, the time for the public to speak is over. We're going to bring it back to the commission now for discussion. Yes, Mr. Aldridge.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I got a question for staff, and I don't even know if they would know this, but do you by chance know what the posted speed limit is around that corner, along that highway? Would that be standard 30? Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. McKay.
I have a question for staff also. Is there any way that we can say you can't exit this piece of property off of Lincoln or whatever this north or south street is? Clifton.
So a couple of things. In the past, I think of one particular property specifically where they were going to a commercial zone. They had a through lot from Seneca all the way to Walnut, and there was a protective overlay that limited access to the property only to Seneca. So I think it is within, I guess I'll look to legal to back me up on that. He's nodding his head, that a protective overlay could be applied to this property that limits access to the alley and not onto Lincoln/Clifton. And then even so, likely traffic engineering would not allow an access point because it's on a corner because of the safety concerns.
Any other discussion? So we'll consider a motion now. Do you
Can I
want
talk to Mr. Miller?
Pardon?
I'd like to speak to Mr. Miller again.
Okay, Mr. Miller,
Engineer.
could you please come back for a minute?
Would your client be interested in doing like the staff said a while ago with an overlay and with the restrictions coming off onto those two streets?
And just make the only access off the alley?
Yes.
Is that the question? Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we'll entertain a motion which should include the discussion about a protective overlay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This is a zoning question. Would that be appropriate, or would that be more in the planning aspect of it for access control issues?
We normally hear cases with protective overlays when they intend to do that, I think, don't we?
That's the reason I asked the question.
I recall several cases in the past where a protective overlay was allowed that restricted access.
If that's the case, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
that we approve the zoning with a protective overlay, prohibiting any exit off of this property from the two streets, Clifton or Lincoln.
Second.
Okay, Mr. McKay made a motion and second by Mr. Aldrich. Yes,
Ingress and egress.
okay. Got it? Everyone understand the motion? I think we have a second. Yeah. Mr. Aldrich seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay?
No.
Okay, so we have one no and 11 ayes.
Yes, 11 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to item 4.3.
Yes, good afternoon again. Brad Etherly, Senior Planner, MAPD. We are now discussing case Zone 2024-00032, along with Con 2024-00061. In this case, the applicant is requesting an amendment of a protective overlay, which would be PO 351, to allow an entertainment establishment in the city on property zoned LC Limited Commercial. This is a property that is about 3.38 acres in size and is located on the east side of North Meridian Avenue and within 300 feet south of West 51st Street North, which is located at 5130 North Meridian Avenue. The applicant is also requesting a conditional use to permit an entertainment establishment within 300 feet of a residential zoning district. Currently, the PO 351 allows for all uses in the LC district with several exceptions, which are located in the staff report. And just to be clear, restaurants that serve liquor can be developed and may serve liquor as long as food is the primary service of the establishment. PO 351 originally prohibited entertainment establishments in the city as a use prior to the definition of the use changing in January of 2024. The UZC requires a conditional use for outdoor service of food or drink as an accessory part of the operation of a entertainment establishment in the city if the property is located within 300 feet of a church or place of worship, public park, school, or residential zoning district, and shall be subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. The subject site borders SF5 Single Family Residential District to the north, east, and south, which is within the 300-foot threshold requiring a conditional use to be permitted on the property. Compatibility noise standards would apply to the subject site since it is within 500 feet of property zoned MH manufactured housing residential district or more restrictive. The property is surrounded by a contiguous tree line that was deemed to meet the screening standards of the UZC when the property was rezoned and protective overlay 351 was established in 2020. You can see at the with the zoning map, the property to the north and east is zoned SF5 and is developed with agricultural fields. Property to the south is zoned SF5 and is developed as agricultural field or a drainage swale. Property to the west across North Meridian Avenue is zoned LC and is developed with agricultural fields as well. The property's barn, the subject property's barn is approximately 460 feet to the nearest residential building. As far as case history goes, on December 15th, 2011, the property was platted as Lot 1, Block 1 of the Bowlane Edition. And like I said earlier, in 2020, the subject site received a zone change from SF5 to LC with the aforementioned PO 351. North Meridian is a paved 4-lane arterial with no sidewalks on either side, and all municipal services are in place and can accommodate the required services to the site. Wichita Transit does not serve the site. If we can go to the future growth map. The requested amendment to PO 351 is in conformance with the plan. The community investments plan identifies the site as new residential. The category of new residential includes in its description pockets of major institutional and commercial uses likely will be developed within this area as well based upon market-driven location factors. Staff believes that the proposed amendment to the protective overlay and the conditional use provides a change of use at this location that will support the overall spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan to promote new development in the city. Under the locational guidelines of the plan, under locational guideline 1.d, except in mixed-use development areas, non-residential uses should provide appropriate screening and buffering from residential uses. This site does have an extensive landscape buffer around the entire property. And then also under design, locational guideline 1E states that non-residential uses should have site design features that limit traffic, noise, lighting, and adverse impacts on surrounding residential land uses. And the subject site's landscape screening and the conditions of approval should limit adverse impacts on surrounding residential land uses. If we can go to site pics. So this is looking east into the site. Next pic. This is looking north up Meridian Avenue. Next picture. This is looking south, and you can see the swale that extends further along and across North Meridian as well. Next picture. And then this is looking west away from the site. Staff does recommend approval of the request subject to the conditions listed into the staff report and to the revised language of protective overlay number 351 with one change. Late yesterday, I did get a notification from the agent involved who is here, and he can go into more in depth about this. But in one of the conditions is that outdoor entertainment hours shall be between the hours of 12 p.m. noon and 10 o'clock p.m. and that all compatibility noise standards shall apply. The agent has talked to neighbors about reducing that time to 8 p.m. and the agent and applicant are okay with that. So that would be something that you could change in your motion. And again, the agent can speak more to that if he needs to. With that, I can stand for any questions.
Mr. Aldridge.
Yeah, can we on a photos, can we go back to the view looking north away from the site?
I think it's the next,
Yeah, the north,
right there.
there you go.
Back.
Yeah, go back one. That one. Excuse me, staff report shows that North Meridian is paved 4-lane arterial with no sidewalks on either side.
Correct.
I'm thinking you missed that just a
Yeah.
little bit there.
It's possible that in the aerial that I was looking at, it was not, I should have gone back and taken a look at my pictures, but, you know, we have several different years of aerials, and it's possible that when I was looking at the aerial, it did not show
Yeah,
sidewalks
it's
there.
probably been there for 15, 20 years. One of my concerns on this is, first of all, I don't have a problem with what they're wanting to do there. What my problem is got to do with traffic and the increased traffic that we're seeing there. I know in staff reports you're showing that pretty much everything is agricultural all the way around it. But we have just recently, directly across the street on the west of this, we've seen new plats and everything else coming up. They're fixing on developing that whole thing. They're actually, as we're speaking right now, putting the infrastructure in for a very large temple. It's going to be, I guess, one of the largest in our several surrounding states right here, or the region is going to go in there, and that's across the street, just southwest of this location. We have tremendous amount of new residential being developed up there. We got a light commercial that's going to be going in there, and I'm very, very, very concerned with all the traffic. It's a huge speedway between 53rd and on the north of that, and on the south would be 96 right there. Ideally, it would be a great thing to put signalization lights just south of there, but that's like, I don't know how many people are going to have to get hurt pretty bad before that happens. But I don't know what we can do but continue adding to the problem here. Again, I'm not opposed to what the applicant is trying to do here. I'm just concerned about the traffic, and there's no way we can put a right in, right out there either. So I don't get any suggestions.
I think that would be up for Public Works to decide at a later date, perhaps, or maybe the director.
Mr. Aldridge, planning staff can submit your comments and concerns to the traffic engineer for them to take a look. Because you're right, this area, even as you all know, there's a significant number of zoning cases in this area and lots of new development going on. So we can bring it to their attention.
I'd appreciate it because I've done it and it's fell on deaf ears.
Is there any other questions of staff at this point from the commission? If not, thank you. We'll call on the agent or applicant, and you will have 10 minutes. Please give us your name and address.
Thank you. Jay Cook, Baughman Company, 315 South Ellis Avenue. Real quick on traffic concerns, I'm not sure that this will add a whole lot as it would be in more of an event type center, entertainment type center that wouldn't have regular traffic. I don't know if that helps ease your mind about this one. I realize the development on the west, there's a lot more, but we don't anticipate any significant added traffic with what we're wanting to do. Basically, we bought this piece of property, and by we, I mean my client, the applicant. It's kind of a hobby building. Right now, it's full of kids' bouncy houses. He wants to host kids' birthday parties at this establishment. And with the changes in the zoning code and definitions, with the original protective overlay, this would have been a prohibited use. Like Brad was saying, we've reached out, a neighbor reached out, and we've worked with said neighbor, and it's who owns this whole surrounding area, was concerned with outside noise at night. And what we did was, we're asking to move that 2 hours on both sides back. So 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. as opposed to noon to 10. We're in agreement with all of the recommendations added to the language of the protective overlay, and are even restricting our abilities a little more by that time constraint. But having kids' birthday parties, there wouldn't have been much use past 8 p.m. as it is. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Yeah, I would probably limit them kids to the alcohol when they're on that bouncy thing.
Well, it's adults on bouncy houses are probably just as dangerous as drunk infants, I guess.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Warren.
Jay, we've got a letter from Mr. Bachman, and one of the concerns that he had to do with lighting at night, with down direction lighting. Have you thought about that?
Yes, and that Mr. Bachman is who we've been, discussing, because he owns all of this. There is in the requirements, in the protective overlay as it already is, all outdoor lighting sources shall employ cutoff luminaries to minimize light trespass. So he's actually gone in, Mr. Hayes, the applicant, has gone in and replaced some of the lighting that was there when he purchased it to point down. So we're going to make sure that all lighting stays on the property. We've also planted some more trees from what, as Brad was mentioning, for a little more screening around the site. So that should keep a lot of the light from exiting the property.
Any more questions from the commission for the agent? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak on this case? Okay, please approach the podium, give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Gregory Chin, and I live at 2300 West 51st Street North. I believe on the map.
Sir, could you use the mouse? We're taping this, and it helps to.
I live right here, according to this mouse, I believe. First of all, I'd like to say over there, I think there's some misinformation here. As one of the residents in the area, I was not contacted. I talked to my neighbor that lives next to me. He was not contacted. He talked to the 2 ladies that live next door over there. They were not contacted. I talked to the gentleman on the corner. He said somebody came in and told me that they were going to have maybe an event center for kids, but he couldn't understand if they want it for kids, just take the provision and strike the alcohol. Then number 2 over there, the comment was made about access in and out. I believe over there you were going to give it approval for 300 people. I went over and counted parking spaces. I was told by one of your people over here at the commission, they allow 2 people for every parking space. I went over there and counted them. I may have counted wrong, but there's only 53 parking spaces. So where are they going to put all the cars? Well, it's easy. They're going to park them on 51st Street. It's the closest. So all of a sudden, when they have events, we may see more traffic, or I don't know where. I actually talked to one of the ladies that lived over in Harbor. She was unfamiliar that they were getting ready to put this venue in. Concerning zoning, I think it's been real deceptive, because the first time they asked, this thing was, property was listed as farmland. And then they got this exemption, so supposedly the man had a horse barn. So they gave it a conditional approval, so whoever bought it could put his vehicle, store his vehicles in, or use it as a warehouse. And now all of a sudden you're changing it again. Next thing I know over there, they'll change it to, maybe you'll change it to a bar. I think over there that this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have the right access. I think over there, we were deceived because when they pay 51st going down here to Hiawatha, we were told over there that we were access for the taxes on the street, and this land was all exempt because they said that they were never going to use it. But now, explain to me, if they have a lot of vehicles show up at this event, where are they going to park their cars? Where would you park your car?
Sir, your time is up. Can you conclude your comments, please?
Well, that'll do it. Thank you.
I'd like to call on staff. Philip, do you have any information on the notification on this case?
I am currently looking into it. I will give an update.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this case? Anyone else? If not, we'll bring it back to the applicant or agent, and you'll have 2 minutes for rebuttal.
Just really quick on the 300 people, that's a code related thing with entertainment establishments. There's no way this building would fit 300 people. It's not built big enough for that. I don't know the exact occupancy of it, but it would never be to 300. In the protective overlay, there is established that there was something regarding parking. I'm not sure what I've done with it now, but anyways, the parking, everything will remain on site. There's not enough of room in the building to have that amount of people that would need to park outside of the area. And I believe that is the main concern would be traffic and parking. So that's the rebuttal to that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Philip.
We verified the ownership list of the application. The applicant did provide a list of property owners with 350 feet. The speaker's property was just outside. It was very, very close, like basically right up to the boundary line, but just outside of that 350-foot radius.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we've had a policy that if the notice has been brought into question, that the commission have a motion saying that it, based on the statement of staff, that has substantially complied with the notice requirements before we go forward on the motion to approve or deny.
That would be a separate motion. Do I hear a motion stated that substantially complies with the requirements?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, we have, excuse me, I missed, who made the motion? Yes, Mr. Fry made the motion, Mr. Warren seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So now we will bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. Mr. Warren.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve with the changes talked about. Number one being the change of time of the venue to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'll leave it with that.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. Warren, second by Mr. Fry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
We get one nay.
Abstain.
Oh, abstain, okay. So we have, 11 aye and 1 abstain. Okay, thank you. Next case is 4.4. And Clarence is abstaining from that, correct?
Good afternoon, everyone. Christina Reith with planning staff again. For zone 2024-00033, the applicant requested a zone change from SF20 Single Family Residential to LC Limited Commercial District. It's a little bit over 2 acres in size, and it's on the east side of North 127th, within a half-mile north of East Central Avenue, and it is currently undeveloped. The applicant is requesting this zone change to match the zoning of the adjacent property and expand options for development. So if we look at the zoning map here, everything that you see here in red is limited commercial. The current zoning, SF20, allows for a very limited number of mostly low-density residential uses. Should the zone change request be approved, that will obviously increase the permitted uses on site. So that would allow single-family, two-family, multi-family residential development at a density of 75.1 dwelling units per acre, and a limited number of commercial uses. So just with the setback requirements, minimum lot sizes within our code, that is in a table that is in your staff report. Should the zone change request be approved, the applicant shall be subject to screening requirements set forth in the Unified Zoning Code, which requires a 6 to 8 foot solid screening fence for any commercial development where adjacent to residential zoning. And I should clarify, for any commercial or multifamily development where adjacent to residential zoning. As we can see here, the character of the neighborhood is mostly residential. To the north, we have the Country Club golf course. To the south, we have a townhouse subdivision. To the west, that is the city of Wichita, and everything you see in white is zoned single family on the zoning map. The subject site is not platted. Last year, I should clarify, I shouldn't say the applicant per se, but the owner of the property at the time submitted a subdivision plat, and that was presented to the subdivision committee. However, it was deferred indefinitely, and my understanding, based on my communication with our subdivision planner, there were some issues with drainage. This site has access to North 127th, which is a two-way county arterial street. And it is part of the Crestview Country Club Improvement District, but with that, it is not eligible for annexation into the city of Wichita. The requested zone change is in partial conformance with the Community Investments Plan. When we look at the future growth concept map, it actually identifies this area as appropriate for parks and open space. So the requested zone change would permit commercial and high-density residential development, so that does not align with the goals of this category. However, if we look at the Community Investment Plan's locational guidelines, one of the plan's general guidelines aims to support expansion of existing uses into adjacent areas. So based upon the information available at the time the staff report was completed, staff recommends denial of limited commercial district and alternatively recommends approval of B multifamily residential district. So when we were looking at this as a department, we noticed that there was existing multifamily development to the south. B multifamily would, when we look back at these locational guidelines to say support expansion of existing uses to adjacent areas, this would allow for similar multifamily development, but it would not allow for commercial development. So we're talking like a gradual transition between, again, the single and multifamily housing, and then the country club and open spaces to the north and east of the subject site. This recommendation is based on the golden rules, which you have listed in your staff report. I will skip ahead to the last one, opposition or support of neighborhood residents. I provided that I've received some written comments in opposition to the requested zone change, as well as some phone calls with the same concerns with traffic, drainage, and potential intensity of permitted uses. I've since received additional written comment that has either been provided to you via email or in a packet that is on your tables. And let's go to some of the site photos here. Could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. This is looking east towards the site. Next slide, please. This is looking north towards the site. Next slide, please. This is looking south away from the site towards the townhome subdivision. Next slide, please. This is looking west away from the site. So this is on the east side, or the west side of 127th Street. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Any questions from the commission?
The nearest east-west street,
So Central Avenue is about a half mile south of here.
south?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions of staff?
Actually, could we go to the zoning map that shows where Central Avenue is? Thank you.
Any other questions? Not, thank you. We'll call on the agent or applicant. Please give us your name and address, and you will have 10 minutes.
Philip Graves, I am the agent for the applicant. Thanks, Christina, for preparing the report and for the board for hearing our challenges to the staff report and some of the feedback that the community has provided.
Can you give us your address, sir?
15031 East Morris, Wichita, 67230.
Thank you.
As it's seen on the map, the surrounding areas are actually zoned limited commercial LC. That includes Villas 1 and Villas 2. We are simply asking for the same zoning as the properties around us, nothing less, nothing more. We kind of want to be on an equal playing field with surrounding properties. And reading the feedback, it kind of feels like it's the rules for thee, not for we, from some of the Villas residents. They want to have LC, but they want to control what we do with our property, and it feels just a little unfair considering we're requesting the exact same zoning they have. Now, without solid plans of what we're going to do, I realize that can lead into some fear, and they can imagine all the things that would be done with the property. But my goal is here to address the concerns and show that we're not the big bad wolf. And additionally, there are many items that are approved in LC, but that would not work on this property due to the limited size of the property and the economics. For example, we're not going to build a McDonald's. We're not going to build a coffee shop, as someone was worried was going to happen. We're not going to build an office park. Office is dead if you read the news. There really is only a few uses that would probably really work for this particular property. And some ideas that we are discussing, we just don't have it concrete yet, is some luxury condo-esque type product that can be fully realized with an LC zoning. I'm not sure that the multifamily B recommendation will completely allow us to accomplish some of our ideas that would be allowed under LC. And again, our target market is going to be the high net worth individual that utilizes Crestview Country Club. So this is going to be a luxury higher end product, not something that's low income, not something that wouldn't make money, because that is our target market. And again, it's kind of the chicken and the egg. Do you have the full plans established and then get to the zoning and then kind of finalize your plan? So in this case, we have some ideas around some luxury condo-esque type product that would be fully realized with LC zoning. You look at some of the feedback that was presented by either the planners or the people in the villas. Some of them was from the Killarney patio homes, which is, if you look on the map, they're over here. They're going to be minimally impacted by what we're doing all the way over here. In fact, I'd say the larger concern to their property is the road noise and usage from K96 highway. That's far more detrimental to them than anything that we're going to do over here. Villas 2, they are all the ones that are down in here. Their entrance to their property is several hundred feet south. When they enter the property, they continue to go to the south and to the east, away from the property. Won't be able to see the property from their Villas 2 HOA, and therefore will have minimal impact whatever it is we do with the property. The majority of the feedback came from residents inside Villas 1, which is these areas here. And I can probably break down their feedback into home values, drainage, trees, traffic, and compatibility. And I kind of want to address those concerns compared to what we think we're going to do with the property. House values. I've been a residential agent since 2015, and the majority of that I've been in the top 10% of production for all of agents in the South Central Kansas MLS. I've also served on the board of directors for the South Central Kansas MLS, so I feel like I'm very qualified to discuss home values. They've expressed some concerns that if we do a project over there, that their home values will be decreased and they can't sell their homes, et cetera. The 12-month average for sales prices in Villas 1 is $271,000. The average sales price across the MLS is $235,000, so they're barely selling above the average for our total MLS. Anything that we do will meet or exceed those current values of their average sales price. Therefore, if anything, we're going to improve their values with the prices that we'll sell our project for. So their home values will not be decreased, they'll actually be increased. And if there's anything that's going to devalue Villas 1, it's the simple fact they have flat roofs and stucco siding, and what you don't build in Kansas is flat roofs and stucco siding. So we aren't going to build anything that's flat roofs and stucco siding, but we'll build something very aesthetically pleasing that will sell for more money and raise the prices of the homes nearby. Trees and air quality. We like trees. I like trees. The goal is not to just clear cut everything, save what you can. However, even at the current SF zoning, there will be trees that have to be removed for any construction that we do. And to say that trees, this is in the feedback, that trees would be removed or affect the air quality feels like an unreasonable comment, because a few trees getting removed is not going to affect how they breathe air. The land is currently for sale under the current zoning as FF20, and if they are concerned about green space and trees, I'd say put their money where their mouth is and write us a check, buy the land, and it's theirs, and they can keep it like it is. But if they don't want to do that, I feel like we should be able to develop the property as we wish. Another concern was traffic. Someone said, well, the country club already generates a lot of traffic. Well, 4 days a year is the Wichita Open, which has a large economic impact on the city. The other 361 days of the year, traffic is limited. I actually am a member of the country club, so I utilize it, and I've never really had any traffic concerns turning left or right out of the parking lot, which is all the way up here. And I've never seen it become a problem. Like I said, the only time that there's a problem with Crestview is during the Wichita Open. And anything we build, because the land is so small, there's going to be minimal traffic that is ever generated off an entrance off 127th, which we would have. We're not going to enter through Villas or Drive or via Roma. That's their entrance. We have a separate entrance. The traffic will not affect them. Drainage, okay. They already have established drainage problems, especially on, I believe, this side of their Villas 1, which would be the east side of our property. Before we even touch the dirt, they have problems. In order for us to develop this, we have to have a drainage plan, and in the course of doing so, we will improve their drainage. So by us developing it, they'll actually alleviate some of their drainage problems. Instead, right now, they're negatively affected, and if while we develop it, they're going to be positively impacted and have less, flooding in their basements, et cetera, because we will properly move that water that will be required to do anything. I mean, I'm sure when you get plating, et cetera, that's a requirement. And then compatibility. If we develop this high-end type of product under LC, we'll be able to have the options necessary, I think, to build our product. And at the same time, it would still match the surrounding properties, which are condos in LC zoning. And we'll do something that's aesthetically pleasing and will actually add value to the community at large, whether it's people who want to take use of Crestview Country Club or people who live in the villas. I mean, this will actually help, I believe, their property values and how things look in the area. Someone commented, we don't wish to drive by commercial on our way home from work. Well, I would challenge them that wherever they work, they probably drive by numerous commercial properties just to get to their house. So I feel like that's kind of a moot point and unwarranted feedback. Additionally, someone commented about the HOA covenants do not require or outlaw commercial. Well, we're not in the HOA for Villas 1. We're a separate piece of property, so that does not affect what we are going to do. At the end of the day, having LC will give us the flexibility to build a very nice product that's a high end and meant towards high net worth people that will increase property values. It will actually improve the existing drainage, will not add additional traffic problems, and will fit nicely in with the surrounding properties. And my question to the board is, why can't we have the same zoning that they have? Thank you.
Any questions from the commission? Mr. Aldridge?
Yes, sir. Are you looking at doing any type of manufacturing or storage on this property?
We are not looking to do any sort of type of manufacturing. It would be a condo type product that people could actually stay in and live in if they want to. We don't have concrete plans yet. So we're toying around some different ideas, but it would be geared towards that type of a concept, not a manufacturing facility, not an office park, not a restaurant, not retail, something that would more negatively affect the neighborhood.
Okay, so if you're looking at doing some sort of a condo type deal, would that be something that, would you be agreeable if it come down to that, that you would be limited to only that?
Potentially, I would want to know what the restrictions are so that we can make sure our concept fits within that, but that's a lot closer to what we're looking to do than some of the larger uses under LC. But LC gives us that latitude to really build it the way we want to. I said, it's hard to completely get into details without having details ourselves on the drawings that we can show you and say, here's what we're thinking and get into the weeds. But it would be under a more condo type product that people can then take advantage of Crestview Country Club, et cetera.
Well, my thinking is that if you're looking at doing some sort of a condo residential, maybe a temporary stay type thing there, I think that if you were to work with staff a little bit more, you might be able to come up with something that might be able to work for you and also help relieve some of the issues from the other property owners.
Yeah, and our goal is to be a good neighbor. Like, we're not coming in trying to make everybody mad, and we want to be good neighbors. And I believe what we're going to do will actually solve all the concerns and the problems that may have even presented by staff. But yes, we could get more specific. I just don't have those details right now in front of the podium.
Mr. Williams Bay?
Yes, is this part of the Crestview Homeowners Association?
No, it's a separate piece of property. It used to be owned by Crestview Country Club itself, and they sold off these 2 acres to the applicant.
So there's no architectural controls?
No.
Okay.
Currently, there are no architectural controls.
Mr. McKay?
Sir, you keep referring to we can do so much more in LC than we can in what the staff's recommended. What are these differences that, because, you know, B multifamily is, they could put 150, close to 150, 200 units in there if you wanted to, based on 72 units per acre.
I mean, 150 wouldn't even fit on there anyways, but
I understand that, but I'm saying the latitude that you get one from zoning case from the, or one zoning classification from the other, you keep saying we can do better in LC than we can. What are those differences?
well, we're not going to build them exactly like the condos that are around there, like Villas 1, Villas 2. It's some sort of, I can't tell you exactly what it is we're going to need further, but I know if I'm looking at the multifamily B, I'm not sure it gives us enough room to build the type of condo product that we're thinking we want to build. And the LC just gives us a little bit much more room. But with we're not, like I said, we're not going to go so far to build manufacturing. We're not going to build restaurants, et cetera. It's going to be closely more resembling a condo type product that people can take advantage of at Crestview. But I don't have those details yet, so then I can't, at that point, compare multifamily B to LC, other than LC definitely gives us the ability to really nail the concepts that we are possibly considering.
But you see where we're coming from. If we give you LC, then you're open to everything in LC unless you're going to put restrictions and say we'll only do certain things in this LC.
That is true. If it is referred to as LC, we technically could do anything, but our intent is to build something that's more of a condo type product.
Mr. Joe Johnson.
Can you give me one example of what might be in one of these condos?
A place you can store your golf cart, set up your golf simulator, live there, eat there, sleep there, and be able to, I mean, you can walk to the hole number one on number one south, the Crest Street Country Club. So it's kind of a cool little place that you can live in a different twist on a condo. That's something that we're kicking around.
And what do they do in the other developments here that requires a LC?
You know, I wasn't around when they approved the LC zoning for Villas 1 and Villas 2, so I'm not sure the reasonings why, but I just know that they are approved for LC, and my question is really, why can't we have LC?
Mr. Williams.
So are you proposing multi-story construction?
I really don't know yet because I haven't got that far down in the plans, but my guess is probably not. More like single level.
Mr. Warren?
Can you show us with the mouse on there which lots that are currently zoned light commercial?
Well, if we go back to the zoning map, I can show you guys exactly whatever around it is LC. So all this around it is zoned LC. So this entire area right next to our land, we're surrounded by LC or Crest Street Country Club.
Thank you.
So it was zoned LC, but it never was used as LC.
The other land is LC. Like I said, I can't speak to why it was or was not approved for LC. It's just right now they have LC zoning and they have condos.
Yeah, but it was never used as LC.
Not for other uses outside of multifamily under LC. Or morely, I guess if I could clarify it, more like a multifamily purposes that would be approved under LC zoning.
Mr. Mader, do you have a question?
Yes, you'd mentioned some of the possible usages. Am I hearing something like an executive store place or a place where you have condos that you can do your hobby in, or are these absolutely just residential units?
These would not be just like executive store. I also don't like how executive store looks, and we would want people to live there.
I guess I'm just referring to the concept that you're buying an open space as a condo, and you may put your house, your residence in the loft or in the back, but you could also do hobbies in the front. Any of the things you'd suggested, golf even.
It would be cool if they could have a larger garage space to set up a golf simulator and store the golf cart. Additionally, they would have a living area inside the, kind of like a studio.
Philip?
Studio condo?
Just for the record, if a product where even if one of the units was primarily just for self-storage, that'd be warehouse self-storage type, that would also take in conditional use within limited commercial zoning. So any type of storage on the site would have to be accessory to a dwelling unit or some other type of use that's already permitted in limited commercial zoning. So if there was a product on there that the primary use was to store materials like a self-storage warehouse, whether it's a condo or a rental situation, that would require a conditional use in addition to the limited commercial zoning because that was considered warehouse self-storage.
Mr. Aldridge.
Yeah, appreciate the explanation on that to what I was asking. But again, I'm still seeing a product that is primarily a large garage with a studio apartment in it.
A larger garage space so they can put their golf cart inside, maybe set up a golf simulator. Then there's also living areas inside the facility for to live. Like they would actually, this would be their house. But think of it as more of a barn dominium for a condo is a better way to look at it. Like right now, we could go build barn dominiums on this property if we wanted to, but now we're just going to build smaller versions of it to take advantage of the golf course. It's an idea that we're thinking, but it's not set in stone.
Sir, would you be opposed to a B multifamily residential district zone?
Not necessarily. I mean, I would love to see if we could work more detail with our concept and see if it fits that, or if we need, I don't know if it's possible, if you gave us that, we got an exception for what we wanted to do and we had the plans done. But we're not necessarily opposed to that. Today I can't tell you if that zoning would completely fulfill what we kind of had in mind.
I just think that with the information that we're getting, it's sort of like a crapshoot here. We're not quite sure what you're wanting to do. And, me personally, I'm not wanting to endorse the zoning for something I'm totally clueless on what you're going to be doing there. I'd really like to see, and it's just my personal thoughts, I like you to figure out what exactly you're wanting to do, get with staff, work with staff, and find out what's the best acceptable zoning to have that done here. Whether it's LC with protective overlay or what, but right now it's extremely vague.
Question to, I guess, staff and the board is if we got, instead of LC, you gave us the B multifamily, we got the concept more dialed in, is that something we could then further come back with an exception for that to that zoning, or in addition to that, if it required more? Because it may not, but what if it does, is that something we can come back to?
When you say exception, what are you, like an exception to?
I don't know if we need anything additional to multifamily B once we finalize a concept.
So if you get approved for B multifamily, the only way to add additional uses would to ask for an additional zone change to allow those uses. The only exceptions you could get in B multifamily would to be requesting either administrative adjustment if something's within there for setbacks or development standards. If whatever you're asking for goes beyond the ability to do administratively, it would be a variance process.
Okay.
So I think we need to move on to public comment. Again, staff recommendation on this was to deny the LC and consider they would approve what was it?
BMF.
B multifamily, right. So we need to get on to where we're to that point and make that decision. And you'll have to let us know when we're ready to vote, if you would accept that or not. But right now, I'd like to invite public comment, unless you have anything else you want to tell us at this point.
I think that's all for now. But yeah, I mean, we would be open to multifamily B, but our preference is LC.
Okay, thank you.
I have a comment. It just seems to me that we wouldn't even need to open this thing up for public comment if we just were able to understand what kind of product was going in there. These people wouldn't even be here today. They'd still be at home or wherever. Wouldn't be sitting out here for 2 hours wasting our time. It just seems to me that we should know what we're looking at. And it doesn't make any sense to me where we are and how we got there. That's all I'm saying. I don't even think it should be on the agenda right now.
Well, I would defer to staff or legal on this, but since it has been put on the agenda, barring any other information, I think we ought to hear public comment and then vote on it. But can you give us some
a legal
direction on that?
application that was complete was submitted, and like we don't just have discretion over whether or not we can stick something on an agenda.
Okay, with that, thank you. I will call on anybody from the public that would like to speak on this case. Please come forward and give us your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Please, we have just one at a time, sir.
Oh, she motioned me up here, sorry.
Please be aware of the time on the clock when we speak and try to confine your comments to things that have not already been covered. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Name and address.
My name is Kenneth Sturkey. I live in Country Club Courts Patio Homes right over here. I drive out this way every day. Traffic will be a problem at that intersection. Right now, it's a T intersection. What you're proposing is to make it an X intersection. But I'm also the vice president of the Country Club Court Patio Home Association, and I'd like to read this statement. The Patio Home Association, located in the vicinity of the property in question, respectfully requests that the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, the City of Wichita, and the State of Kansas require an environmental impact assessment prior to any zoning changes for the property. The property in question contains a surface drainage path for a large area on both sides of 127th Street East. Many mature trees are present on this property. The drainage path has been in place for at least 25 years, may qualify as wetlands. Numerous species that live in the area could be negatively affected by this development. Light commercial operations on that property. For example, bald eagles have been observed in the area and may be nesting there. An environmental impact assessment should be required before any zoning change is approved. And you as the decision makers can require that. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please approach the podium and give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is George Varga. I live at 12629 East Killarney. I've been a 24-year resident there. My concerns have, to some extent, already been addressed. I think one of the gentlemen on the panel stated that, to a great extent, we're being asked to vote on smoke. We don't know what we're buying collectively. As a resident, I'm only speaking for myself, former president of the HOA. Access, as the gentleman before me, our guard shack is directly across from this property. No comment has been made as to how access to this proposed addition, where it would be, whether it would feed into the villas, access roads, whether it would feed directly onto 127th. Comment was made about the relative affordability of the villas. As a point of interest, directly west on 127th in Country Club Court, there are currently at least 2 properties on the market with a 7-figure price tag. We're talking about some nice homes. Having lived there as long as I have a vested interest in maintaining the residential theme of this neighborhood. Virtually everything on the west side of 127th is residential. There's a church to the south of us, a gas station at Central and 127th. And even though the villas technically are apparently considered light commercial, to the longtime residents, we consider it as a residence. We don't foresee any kind of a modification or radical upgrade to those. To us, those are residents. The country club, again, is of no concern to us other than our golf tournaments once in a while, and we're okay with that. I think my interest is obviously in maintaining the residential theme of the neighborhood, and I would suggest and hope that the commission would consider denying this application. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this? Please approach the podium and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi there, my name is Wendy Letter. I live at 12521 East Killarney Court in the property, in the single-family homes that are to the west of this proposed zoning change. Just have a couple of questions. I'm also the secretary for the HOA, the Country Club Court Estate Home HOAs. It would seem to me that if the zoning change is granted to LC, that would make it a lot more lucrative property to sell. So that would be one thing I would ask the board is, are you able to put a condition on that they can't turn around and sell that property to someone who would put in a strip mall, who would put in something else that would not be in keeping with our neighborhood. Also, regarding the possible zone change to multifamily, there are two very large apartment complexes right near to this. We've got Portofino at Central and 127th, and then we've got I believe it's called Crestview Cottages, further south on 127th. So if you go ahead and approve the zone change to multifamily, I've got kids in Andover School District. Those two huge apartment complexes are greatly impacting our schools, as well as the open enrollment that has just started. So I would ask for you to consider the ramifications for opening that up to multifamily. What is the impact on our kids' schools going to be in Andover? One other thing, we've been trying to get a sidewalk in along 127th for years. We've been repeatedly turned down for a sidewalk. So if you add something in for condos or multifamily, we're going to have more traffic on 127th. My kids try to bike on 127th. They're frequently pushed off into a ditch because of all of the traffic. If you guys aren't there, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then again 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., you're not going to see how much traffic is actually on that 2-lane road. It is dangerous. And I think somebody is going to get severely injured or killed by traffic on that street if you guys don't get us a sidewalk, especially in light of more commercial development. So thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this from the public? Please give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes, and we request that you contain your comments to just new information, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Dr. Tim Rohrig, R-O-H-R-I-G. I'm actually on the other side of the street, over in Via Roma, 58 East Via Roma. I'm sure you have in your staff reports numerous letters. I know that at least 17 letters came out, probably an equal number of emails and phone calls as well, just from our area voicing opposition. You do have one letter that kind of summarizes everything from the president of our HOA that was dated yesterday, that was sent to your staff. I just want to comment on a couple things, and actually the agent for the developer touched upon this as well as staff. First of all was the drainage. Initially, as according to staff, there was some platting done for just single-family home residents, and this was deferred because of draining issues. I know that one of the emails you got from Dr. Hackney and his wife, unit number 60, actually has some pictures of the flooding challenges that we have be on the east side of the proposed property. So, but I want to get back to the trees. That is a very narrow lot. There's a berm in the middle. There are going to be a lot of trees lost. And the agent made a comment about, not affecting breathing and air quality and things like that. But I'd like to draw your attention to a Channel 12 report, December 2023, talking about NASA, talking about Wichita being in the heat island. And that report goes on to say that Wichita's plan to keep cooler by going green. And I quote from the Wichita arborist, Gary Farris, "The benefit of planting trees is extensive, and this is an expression of our core values, providing a place to live well." This is kind of counter to if you're going to take out trees to put in this high-density facility. I go on, same date, but on KSN report referencing City Council Member Marge Ballard, talking about we want to plant over 1,000 more trees. We're going to take out trees, but we want to plant 1,000 more trees? I don't get the connection there. She goes on to say the goal of tree planting is to lessen the effect of these heat islands. The policy isn't just about creating a green backdrop, although a bonus, setting up a community for better health, making sure that we all breathe easier. As far as the flooding goes, with that berm, water is diverted in both ways. We have no idea where this water is going, but I have a feeling I know where it's going to go. Access, we talked about that. The only access is going to be that very narrow strip off of 127th. That's county drainage there, so it's just basically a culvert. If the water goes in that direction, it's going to exacerbate the flooding there, potentially on the street. If it's shifted the other way, it will exacerbate the flooding on the villas. Limited commercial, yes, because they wanted to put in townhouses, 1 to 2 story. When the question was asked by council, how many stories? Is it going to be multi? Well, probably not. But as we heard from the other speaker, a little bit of smoke and mirrors. So council members, councilors, staff, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Please approach the podium and give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes, and please
My name is
comments to new information. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Basil Harani. I live on 827 North 127th, which is the property right there in this square. I bought this property 11 years ago, and I love this residential neighborhood. And even though the area adjacent to the property in question is zoned LC, it has never been used as LC. This is a residential neighborhood. That's the spirit of this entire neighborhood, and we would like to keep it that way. And whether it's LC or multifamily, it will definitely reduce the values of the properties in that area. I do not want an apartment building or apartments, whether it's 20 or 50 or 70 or 150, I don't care how many they are. No one wants an apartment building across from their home. I've spent a lot of money in my property, and I'm proud of what I've done there. I've beautified it. I've added hundreds of trees over the years for the environmental reasons that everybody's talked about. Everybody talked about traffic and drainage. I'm not going to discuss that. This is a residential neighborhood, and I would recommend that we keep it as a residential neighborhood. Otherwise, we will see decrease of value regardless of what is built there, whether it's multifamily, which means apartments, or LC. In addition, the agent mentioned that the property is for sale. So they could sell it, and if you change the zoning, the next purchaser, once they have the zoning, they could do whatever they want with it. So this whole process doesn't mean anything. We're kind of fishing in the sea for something that we have no idea what we're going to catch here. I recommend the denial of the LC and the multifamily as well, and keep it at single family 20 as it is currently. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me out.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please come to the podium and give us your name and address. You will have 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, could we get the aerial back up?
Sure. Can we get the aerial view of the application back on the screen?
My name is Cassie Fahey. I live at the Villas of 1, and I'm number 60. It's one of the ones that, well, we're all affected. I swore to God I would not get up here and say anything. But everybody has put their hearts into what they're saying, and I want to tell you, I always wanted to live by a lake, and I do. When it rains, the drainage is absolutely terrible. So you are very right, all of you. This would be just, I am begging you, please, please, don't vote for an LC, because I was willing to listen to what they were going to build here. I truly, truly was. But there's no plan. There's no concrete plan. And I noticed that 64 days this property has been for sale. And you said they could sell it to somebody who's going to put a car wash or whatever there. I am just, please, please, everybody has put their hearts into this. And I know there are many, many people who would write more letters to you. So I will say this. My husband died 6 weeks ago. Marine Corps officer, very, very brave. He loved his place so much. And we have these beautiful windows overlooking the trees. And that's all he could look at was the trees and hear the owl and the squirrels and the rabbits came up. This is beauty. And I disagree because, Dr. Roeg, I'm so glad that you looked at the environment. These trees, some of these trees are 80 years old, and they filter the ozone so that we all, our children, our grandchildren, us, aren't suffering. You're a wonderful committee, and I know you're going to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward and give us your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes, and please confine your comments to new information.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conroy, and I live in the Villas. And I've been part and parcel of everything that's been happening since it all began. And I wanted to approach it from a slightly different perspective. I don't want to repeat what's already been said because our time is limited. But at this point in time, the request before the committee is for an LC designation. There isn't a request before this committee for the District B, I guess it's otherwise described as, or multifamily. As a matter of fact, the proponent was kind of lukewarm on the suggestion that that even be adopted. He wants LC. Well, LC is what's before the planning committee at this point in time, and the request from the staffing committee is that that request be denied. Now, obviously, this committee is at liberty to say whatever they want to say when it comes to the recommendations out of the staff report. On the other hand, I'm also concerned out of the staff report that all of a sudden this District B multifamily proposition came up out of nowhere. There is an issue with respect to notice. I know someone who lives in Kimberly Hills. He didn't receive notice of this hearing. There is no notice with respect to District B multifamily. Also, we are opposed to the multifamily concept for a couple of reasons that are identified in the legislation. They could put in duplexes, they could put in multifamily, they could put in assisted living groups and group home residences. That's just part of it. Public and civic uses. They could put in hospitals, they could put in daycares, place of worship, commercial uses. There is some provision for commercial uses. So it doesn't eliminate commercial uses. The other thing that was very notable in this presentation by the proponent was there is no plan. Barn dominiums is how he described it. If anyone is familiar with that particular concept, it's not a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. Traffic patterns, we have seen no studies that address the issue of traffic patterns. The one person that spoke previously was right on point when he talked about environmental impact studies. Where I came from, environmental impact studies are a big deal, and you have to have those before you can approve of these types of requests for rezoning. There is none. It's kind of amazing how we've gotten to the suggestion that we don't have to say what it is we're going to build. We just want your approval to do it. And that's essentially what the proponent is asking for, is your approval to do something we know nothing about. I think the whole thing is probably putting the cart before the horse because we don't know, deferring to the individual who made that request of the proponent to tell us what you're going to put there. Just tell us what you're going to put there. But picturesque or condo-esque type facilities is the best that we can do, and there's no commitment to that, none. So at this point in time, that's what we have. We have no commitment to any kind of a plan that's been presented to this committee. We just want a request for a zoning approval. I think my time may be up. I appreciate your consideration of these comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else who would like to speak? If not at this time, we'll call on the applicant or agent, and you will have 2 minutes rebuttal.
Well, I'm not sure 2 minutes is quite enough to address all of that. The applicant did send me a message. He was traveling. He would be fine accepting the multifamily B. That would probably resolve the majority of the issues. The lot is also very small. We cannot build very many buildings on this property. So the large volume of apartments and traffic, doesn't make sense on this particular property. And I do take a little offense to smoke and mirrors, 'cause I'm trying to be as transparent as I can. And in this case, if multifamily B makes some more sense to the board, I think it definitely fits some of the ideas that we were thinking, and that might solve all the problems. To the idea that we're adding tons of traffic, it's just going to be minimal, or environmental impact studies. I mean, that also feels a little ridiculous to me. We've never seen eagle. I've never heard of reports of eagles. I've never heard of endangered trees on this property. And it's like they want to tell us that we can't ever cut down a tree. So even if we have it SF20, are they going to throw a fit if we cut down a tree? There's actually about 10 dead trees that are partially dying on that property that we will have to cut down. There's some pines. They had pine beetles in them. So while I understand there's some of their concerns, I think I properly addressed most of them in my initial report, but we would accept the residential B, which would probably solve the majority of the problems. I do want to say one story in terms of the level of cooperation with some of the people from especially Villas 1. Last year we had a developer who owned these lots right here that wanted to partner with us on our land and build some patio homes that would, on our lot. It would require an easement access to properly pull off. And he was going to build it to the exact same style that he was working on getting approved from the HOA in these lots, because his lots were inside the HOA and required their approval. Ours were not. There are there's actually 3 parking areas along Via Roma. Can I have just a few more minutes, please?
Sir, your time has run out. Can you wrap up your comments?
Yes, I'm wrapping it up. Essentially, we approached the HOA to say, hey, we'll build these to the exact same design as being proposed. We'll give you $50,000 for HOA, and then we will bring these lots into your HOA to help your HOA. And they basically told me to go away, and we don't want you to build anything on your land. So I feel like their level of cooperation is zero no matter what. And so here, we still want to be a good citizen, and we will accept multifamily B, and I think that'll solve the problems and accomplish what we want as well. Thank you.
Okay, I will bring it back to the commission for a discussion and action. Mr. Warren?
Got a staff question?
Yes.
Christina, on the report that we got, you got recommendation denial of the limited commercial district, but recommends approval to B multifamily residential district. Does that apply to the entire piece of land, or is that divided up into parcels?
We did not specify that it would be divided into parcels. This is for the entire, what is considered to be the entire property that's into question that was requested by the applicant.
Thank you.
Mr. McKay?
I have a staff comment also. Based upon the present zoning of, what is it? Single family 20?
Yes.
What could they do presently, forget the zoning we're talking about now, if they state exactly what they did if they want to go in there and build something?
Single-family SF20 allows single-family residential uses with a minimum lot size of 20,000 square feet. That has to take in consideration sanitation needs, although I believe because it's an improvement district, they have Wichita sanitary sewers, so they could probably achieve that 20,000 square foot lot size. So you're looking at maybe a few single-family homes. Within, since it is the county in SF20, there is, if there was a single-family home built, there is minor opportunities for home occupations if the property owner were to so choose. Other uses for public and civic would include a church. Daycare limited may need a conditional use. Golf course, park and recreation, schools, and utility minor, which isn't necessarily like a substation or something, but so limited number of uses, mostly focused on residential.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Mr. Zimmelman?
Will we have to vote on a denial first and then your alternate approval?
If you want to state staff recommendation, you can just have a motion to accept staff recommendation and approve B multifamily. You wouldn't have to formally deny LC. You could just take, because our findings are written per our recommendation of approval for B. So by accepting our recommendation, you're adopting those findings as it would move forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
I would remind the board that one of the public commenters had raised the issue of notice, and that's something that we need to address before any motions on the application itself is made.
So can you confirm that we sent notices to everybody in the areas required?
The application required a 1,000-foot notification boundary because it is in the county, so that even though it touches the city of Wichita on the west, it would go 1,000 feet into that. The speaker did not provide specific address or location, so we can't necessarily identify a specific property. But considering the number of properties, and we have the list in our application here saying that a 1,000-foot radius was produced, and we did provide a label, the board could move that substantial conformance to notification was done.
Okay, so I think based on that, if we have a motion that substantial notification was performed, that's all we need to do at this point.
I think we need to answer one other question that was raised by the public, was that the notification, he made a distinction between a notification to have a zone change to LC versus a zone change to B-MF. So Philip, if you can address that.
Yes. And Jeff, I'm going to look to you because you've been around here longer too, but essentially it's either the zoning code or the MAPC bylaws allow staff to recommend a lesser zoning classification than what was requested. So we advertised for the requested zone change, which is what we're required to do by law. And it wasn't until we reviewed the merits of the application that we determined that LC would have been inappropriate per our perspective. And so our recommendation for B falls under the ability for us to recommend a lesser zoning classification. If it was the opposite where they were asking for LC, this board nor could staff recommend a more intense zoning classification that would require re-notification. But because staff is recommending a lesser zoning classification than LC, it has fewer intensive use or less intensive uses than the request. That is within the purview of staff recommendation and within the purview of this board to consider for approval.
I would entertain a motion then that so the notification was substantially complied with per the.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Now, do we have any further discussion, or do we want to make a motion on the case? Yes.
And I don't know if this is going to come out as a question or as a statement. Looking at what he's trying to describe, it seems to me like it could be just a real interesting new development, but there aren't any limitations. Would it be possible to work with staff to do the LC with appropriate limitations, with enough limitations, enough restrictions, enough overlay to guarantee it would be appropriate?
That would require a deferral to give time.
I guess I left that part out. We'd have to defer to do that, but could that be accomplished?
Well, we can make a motion to do it.
I mean, essentially, I think what you're asking for is a request for staff to work with the applicant. Essentially, there would be the ability to come with a request for LC, and depending on the conversation, this board or planning staff could recommend a protective overlay that would have restrictions. If we felt that that was necessary, of course, without knowing any of that information, we don't know what that would look like, but that could be an outcome of working with staff. It's not a guarantee. If they're not able to provide sufficient information for us to understand what they're looking for. That's one of the reasons why we recommended B, was given the merits of the application and the discussion of, asking for zoning that matched nearby properties. When we looked at the uses of nearby properties, we saw multifamily in the condo complex in the villas. And was the justification for why we came up with B multifamily, because that matches the uses that are nearby. So not knowing more information, there's no guarantee that we would come back with an approval recommendation or anything like that, but it would be an option to defer it if the board felt so.
Mr. Bill Johnson.
I guess I'm looking at this different. Probably if I was looking at buying property and this was adjacent to LC, I'd think that you could get LC, but since staff didn't agree to that, I can accept that. No matter what we do, they can build stuff on this lot. There will be access that will come to 127th no matter what we do. There will be trees that will be taken out no matter what's built there. So with that, I'd make a motion to approve for staff comments.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Bill Johnson, second from Mr. Warren.
I got a question.
Yes.
Are you requesting B zone? Are we approving B zone?
Okay. The staff's recommendation was to deny limited commercial and approve B zoning.
Got a question for the motion. Are you saying that you want to, instead of denial, that you wanting to approve the LC?
No.
It just B?
Right.
Approve staff comments, which they denied
Staff
LC.
recommends denying LC and approving B. Yes.
I'd like to make a substitute motion. I don't know if it's going to fly or not, but I'd like to make a recommendation that we uphold the staff recommendation of denial for LC, but also recommending a denial for multifamily B, based on the comments and the concerns that we've heard here, are the vague comments and concern. I'm just, I don't feel comfortable with supporting either or of these.
Okay, do we have a second on the original motion?
Second.
Mr. Bill, so we have a motion by Mr. Bill Johnson, second by Mr. Mader, and now we have a substitute motion. Okay, but we need a second on the original motion first. Okay, it was Warren. Okay, so now we have a motion by Mr. Aldrich and a second by Mr. Mader on the substitute motion. Everybody understand what we're voting on?
Okay, I believe we're going to go to a roll call vote for this. So the substitute motion is to deny the request altogether, deny LC and deny B, essentially deny the application outright, no zone change at all. Is everybody? So the matter we're voting on with this roll call would be to deny the application outright, no zone change would be accomplished. Is everybody on the board? Okay.
Let me ask a question. If we would support the zone change to B, and then they got together as staff and worked out a compromise on LC, how long is it before they can come back?
They would have to wait, my understanding, since LC was denied, they would have to wait a year from the planning commission date that it was denied.
What if we didn't deny LC, just approve B?
By approving B, you're denying LC.
Okay, roll call vote.
Okay, roll call on the substitute motion to deny both LC and B. Mr. Dool.
Yes.
Mr. Mader.
Yes.
Mr. McKay.
Yes.
Mr. Fry. Mr. Fry is absent. Mr. Bill Johnson.
No.
Mr. Blick is absent. Mr. Nick. Ms. Klontz.
Abstain.
Mr. Warren.
No.
Mr. Joe Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Zimbelman. Mr. Aldrich.
Yes.
And Mr. Williams Bay.
Yes.
Sir, I show that that motion passes 8-2 to 1.
Okay.
Denial of
motion
the
denied.
application altogether.
Yes,
Question for you, Mr. Duell.
yes.
On what basis can one abstain?
Abstain. She can abstain, yeah, a person can abstain because they think they may have a conflict of interest. And I'm not sure that they need to state exactly what that conflict is. Could council give us some guidance?
That is correct. She can abstain based on a conflict of interest, and she doesn't necessarily have to state what that conflict is.
Right. Okay, moving on. We have one more item on here, and I have requested that we hear this.
Chair Duell, I just want to make an announcement to the public and everyone here that this matter will be heard again in front of the BOCC.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good clarification. This is not the final say. This is going to the Citizens Advisory Board meeting of District 1 on the August 19th meeting. If you want more information about that, please contact staff. And then ultimately, the final decision is the Board of County Commissioners. And if you could, we do have more business to attend to. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could, please move your conversations outside. We do have other business.
We have one more item on the agenda.
It was part of the letter.
Actually, two more. But we have item 4.5, and I have requested that we hear this because it's a unique item, and we want to make sure that everyone on the Planning Commission understands what this is. So with that, I'll call on a staff presentation.
Yes, good afternoon. Philip Zievenbergen with planning staff. Zone 2436 is a request in the city to change the zoning on property from TF3, two-family residential, to limited commercial. The property is 4.64 acres in size. It's located on the west side of North Main and on the north side of West 9th Street. If approved, the city of Wichita intends to construct the Multi-Agency Center, or the MAC. The subject site is comprised of two zoning parcels. The eastern side, the majority of the site, is currently owned by the Unified School District 259, the Wichita School District. And this triangular piece of land on the western side is owned by the city of Wichita. The 259 property is developed with the Parks Elementary School. The city-owned property is open space. It is currently not developed. There's a bike path that runs in the railroad right-of-way, and there's a connection of that path that runs through the city property to the school property. The MAC would utilize the existing school building while also constructing a new building addition onto the west side of the site. The MAC is intended to provide a one-stop resource center to be co-located with emergency congregate and short-term shelter. This would include a winter shelter with over 150 beds, 24/7 congregate shelter, case management services, and rapid rehousing services. Based on the description, the use of the property for the MAC falls under multiple land use definitions, including group residence general, which is a group of individuals who are not related by blood. That would be 16 people or greater. Hotel motel, which would take care of like the transient kind of one night stay or multiple night stay, but not long-term stay category, as well as office general. In order to accommodate the request but maintain compatibility with nearby residential uses, the applicants, being the city of Wichita and the school district, propose a protective overlay which would limit the number of uses within the limited commercial district by prohibiting the majority of the commercial uses. The list of those prohibited uses are in your staff report. I'm looking at page 2, and you can see the protective overlay 437 and the list of prohibited uses on there. For your review and to help understand what is allowed and is not allowed, an attachment onto your staff report has a list of items that is color-coded. It's the items that are permitted in limited commercial, and essentially what that is showing you is everything in red would be prohibited, And then essentially everything in green and blue would be allowed. And the reasons there are two colors there is to help distinguish between what uses are already allowed on the site in the TF3 zoning and what uses would then be further allowed if the LC zoning would be approved, subject to the protective overlay. So as you can see, if you look through that, when you get to the commercial uses on page 9 and 10, the majority of those uses are red and prohibited. And then you can review the additional uses that would be allowed in LC that are currently not allowed in TF3. Some of the items listed on there in the commercial uses are not prohibited by the protective overlay, nor were they listed in the use categories I talked about. And that's designed just because if they would need to be needed for future uses within the MAC, now would be opportunity to allow them to be used. Staff review of that determined that many of those would fall within the ability to be compatible with nearby residential uses. And a specific example would be medical service, that's just like a doctor's office. Personal care and personal improvement services, those are like barber shops, hair salons, things of that nature where if that were to be developed as part of the MAC, then those uses would need to be allowed within limited commercial zoning. Any change in the land use would require additional parking based on the minimum off-street parking requirements. The site currently has approximately 85 parking spaces. There's a parking lot, if you go to the aerial image, please, there's a parking lot on the south side of the property. There's also a parking lot that is accessed from Water Street on the rear of the property. The total parking requirement would have to take into account all the land uses that are on the site and the portions of the building that those land uses occupy if they're based on a square footage basis. So I don't have a exact number of parking spaces that would be required. It would depend on the final build out and what the ratio of uses and square footage and things like that would be if the MAC facility would be constructed. And so essentially saying, if this goes through, there would have to be an evaluation during the building permit process on whether or not additional parking would be needed. Screening, lighting, and landscaping standards. Section 4B of the Unified Zoning Code would require screening and lighting standards for non-residential developments abutting or adjacent to residential districts. Solid screening would be required, which can be accomplished with a minimum of a 6-foot privacy fence. This would be required along the north property line and the west property line. Though this is a path, it does have zoning applied to it, which is TF3, so that would require it. There is a privacy fence on the majority of this north property line. This portion of the north property line has a chain link fence. You'll see it in our site pictures when we get there, and that fencing would have to be upgraded to a solid screening fence. The lighting standards. All light sources must be cut off luminaries to minimize light trespass. Any light pole within 200 feet of residential zoning shall not exceed 15 feet in height. So this standard would just have to be followed. The Wichita Landscape Code requires landscaping for non-residential development abutting or adjacent to residential districts. So essentially wherever there was screening required, there would have to be a landscape buffer planted as well. A minimum is 1 shade tree or 2 ornamental trees per 40 linear feet. If there would be any additional parking lots constructed along Main or 9th Street, they may need to have additional landscaping based on landscape street yard and parking lot screening, and that would be determined at the time of building permits. Compatibility, setbacks, and height standards. Essentially along the north and the west property lines, these compatibility, setbacks, and height standards come into play because the properties are zoned residentially. Maximum of a 25-foot building setback would be required for new buildings, and height compatibility standards would limit the height to 35 feet. There's the ability to go taller depending on a 3-to-1 ratio of for every 3 feet further setback, you can go 1 foot in height. So there is the ability to be a little bit taller, but the building has to be farther away from the property line. The surrounding context is kind of a mixed bag of a lot of different things. The properties to the north are zoned a mixture of TF3 and MF29 and are developed with a mix of single family and duplex uses.
Properties on the east side of North Main are TF3, Neighborhood Retail NR, we have B Multifamily, GO General Office, and LC. In addition, you have this little carve out here, that's GC General Commercial. The NR property and the GO and LC properties are constructed with social service agencies. The B is a parking lot. This TF3 property is a single family home, and this GC property is an office building. To the south, you have GC zoning, MF29 zoning, and SF5 zoning. The GC is commercially used. This particular one on Water and Ninth Street is a TV studio. And then these residential zonings have single-family homes in them. Zoning to the west, immediately to the west is the path, which is TF3 and MF29. But going over farther to the west on privately owned property, it's LI, limited industrial zoning, and is developed with manufacturing uses. There's a significant case history regarding, when all these different properties were platted, not necessarily germane to the topic, so we'll move on for time's sake. South Main or North Main Street is a south one-way street, has sidewalks on both sides. West 9th Street is a two-way paved local street with sidewalks on both sides. North Water is a dead-end street with the cul-de-sac, has a sidewalk on the east side. It is paved. Wichita Transit provide bus service in the area 2 blocks to the east along Broadway, as well as 2 blocks to the west along North Waco. Regarding the community investments plan, if you can go into that, the property is in conformance with the community investments plan. The adaptive reuse of the school as a multi-agency center meets the first priority of the community investments plan, which is taking better care of what we already have. The proposed change retains the school building rather than having remained vacant or demolished. And the site has the necessary infrastructure in place, such as streets, water, sewer, stormwater, and sidewalks and transit. The locational guidelines, the development pattern for the central area encourages infill development that maximizes public investment in existing or planned infrastructure services. That goes back to being able to use existing infrastructure in place, as opposed to building it somewhere out on the edge where new infrastructure would have to be developed. It also talks about preserving and maintaining cost-effective and reliable transportation systems. The school site is 1/4 of a mile from transit stops. The future growth map identifies the property as appropriate for commercial development. This encompasses areas that reflect the full diversity of commercial development intensities types typically found in a large urban municipality. Of course, that has to go with the compatibility standards and things that we've already discussed. The Places for People plan has a strategy that recommends that, I apologize, I lost my place on my staff report. Any redesign of the campus should consider existing walkability of the surrounding neighborhood, including sidewalks and street trees. There are residents on the north and the commercial businesses to the south and the west that make it appropriate for enhancing the area for Places for People. So essentially infilling and adaptive reuse of the site, since it's already in a walkable location within Wichita. This site is also governed by the Midtown Neighborhood Plan. We find that it's in partial conformance with the Midtown Neighborhood Plan. The future land use map from this plan identifies the property for educational under the institutional uses category. The neighborhood properties to the north are designated for multifamily 4-plex or less and single detached and duplexes. The properties to the south are designated for professional and administrative services and multi-unit 4-plex or less. Goal 1.4 of the plan is to grow community leadership and involvement in developing lasting partnership with area businesses, schools, and churches and other neighborhood institutions. Another goal states to build a sense of community and responsibility by supporting school officials in redevelopment efforts while encouraging them to respect the neighborhood fabric and due process. And a final goal says the plan encourages infill construction that is similar to the historic and historically eligible structures in construction style, scale, and design through the use of similar materials and to maintain the existing neighborhood character. There is some additional information regarding the the Midtown plan in your staff report for your consideration as well. Overall, staff is recommending approval subject to protective overlay 437. And again, that lists the uses that would be prohibited on the site. It also specifically states any use requiring a conditional use shall require an amendment to the protective overlay. This is essentially understood anyway. We just specifically call it out so that it's not misunderstood that any item under a conditional use area would be allowed within the limited commercial district. Staff has received some public comment regarding this. You were emailed a comment earlier this week from one of the neighbors. The comments have arisen from property owners or residences here on North Water Street. With that, we can go through site pictures. If you can go to the site pictures, please. Here we go. This is looking northwest at the school. I'm standing on the east side of North Main. Next picture. This is looking southwest from the property. This is the existing parking lot on the south side. You can see the single-family homes and the offices that are nearby the school. Next picture. This is I'm sorry, the I and the arrow are incorrect on this. This is a little carve out. This is a school property. This is Main Street. 9th Street's over here. This is the offices. That's kind of in this square carve out on the site. Next picture. This is looking to the northwest. This is that north property line. You can see where the privacy fence ends, and then there's this chain link fence next to TF3 zone property. So if it would be approved, this fence would have to be upgraded. Next picture. This is looking northeast. This is Main. That's the single family home that I talked about. This is one of the social service offices. Next picture. This is looking east from the site. This is 9th Street. This is the Breakthrough Club, again, one of the social service agencies across the street. Next picture. Looking north at the school. Next picture. This is looking north at the school's playground area. This is this portion of this site midway between the actual school building and the city-owned property. Next picture. This is looking north at the western edge of this school property / the city-owned property. Next picture. Here I'm on the bike path, and I'm kind of looking to the northwest. Again, the path is zone TF3, and these are the limited industrial zone properties on the west side of Wichita Street. Next picture. Going on the south side of 9th, this is that TV studio zone GC. Next picture. Farther west along 9th, these are the single-family homes. Next picture. Again, farther west still, this is at 9th and Wichita. These are single-family homes. Farther in the background is multifamily residential. Next picture. This is headed up the path along the west side. We're looking east at the school. This part right here, right in front of us, is the city-owned property, and then you get the school-owned property there. Next picture. Farther north along the path, this is the north edge of the school. Again, you can see the privacy fence along the north property line that separates the school property from the single-family homes to the north. Next picture. This is looking west from the path. Again, this is Wichita Street, and the site is divided from these with this path in the middle, but this is the limited industrial zone property to the west. Next picture. And again, to the northwest, more of those industrial properties. Next picture. More of the industrial uses in the area. Next picture. Looking southeast at the school, kind of in relation to the single-family home. Next picture. It's a big site. This is on Water Street. This is the cul-de-sac that it dead ends into, and you saw both images. Yeah, you can go to the next one, but you kind of got both images of the single-family homes in relation to the rear parking lot of the school. Next picture. And you can go to the next one as well. This is both sides of Water Street looking north. Those are those single-family homes or duplex homes on Water Street. Next picture, please. Might be coming to the end. Yes, so with that, I can stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions from the commission on this? I just have a question on who is going to manage this operation? Does the city plan on running it? Or
I will defer to the applicant on this one.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Give us your name and address.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. It's Austin Parker, Parker & Parker LLC, 6130 East Central Avenue, Suite 117, Wichita, Kansas 67208. I appreciate the opportunity to get to speak with the commission and the chairman today. I can address that question. I'm going to be very short in comment. I have sat on your side of the table for a super majority of my life, right over there with the others in the legal crowd. So I respect your time. You guys have had a very in-depth staff report that's been presented here. It's very obvious as a news item what the multi-agency campus, the intent is. There's a question about how all that unfolds in terms of what does all that look like. Now that's a little bit beyond what we're talking about because we're talking about a rezoning, and if we're being technical, we're talking about rezoning a piece of property to be used for a number of different purposes, but it's important to go on ahead and address that very succinctly. We're talking about a piece of infrastructure that takes what's already in existence and improves it. And the idea is to use it as a focal point that not only are we improving this area, maintaining it from going vacant, but we're going to use it as an improvement, and we're going to use it as a catalyst to continue the hard work that's been done over the last 20 to 25 years in the Midtown revitalization. It's a key component of how we're addressing certain issues within our downtown. I had an opportunity to speak with one of the residents in the area and talk about a number of different concerns that come up, but the reality is, what are we doing? We are developing a piece of property. We are reusing a piece of property to take care of the secondary effects from a group of residents within our community that are unhoused. And that group of secondary effects is pervasive throughout Midtown, and it's pervasive throughout downtown. And what we are doing is solving it much in the way that Bergen County, New Jersey did. If you go to Bergen County, New Jersey, when you pull in, this is not an encampment facility. This is not Tulsa. If you drive to Tulsa right now, there's a group of service centers because they do not have this facility. This removes encampments because it provides a solution. It's decades in the making. It's a transformational project. It's to the credit of city staff to have the vision to put something like this on table. And we are far more advanced than a lot of other cities looking at this topic right now. And I don't need to name names, but we will do this better, and we will do it in a way that has more dynamic community impact for revitalization than anywhere else in the United States. I firmly believe, because we have the best group of experts from across the United States that have done this successfully elsewhere. So this is a revitalization. Who will manage it? That is a nonprofit that is in the process of identification and/or formation. And what does all that look like? I use the words because I used to be in the United States Army Reserve. That is beyond my pay grade. So with that, I have 6 minutes and 57 seconds left on the clock, and I would reserve my time. I hate to use the word rebuttal, but to answer any questions that might come up. I could also stand for questions. Thank you so much.
Mr. Aldridge.
Yes, sir. How, just out of curiosity, are you going to have the capabilities, or how are you going to address the mental and the substance abuse issues?
You're asking the absolute right questions. Sally's in the background. I think Sally's coming up. She's going to talk about that a little bit. Thank you so much. I'll stand at the side.
Good afternoon. I'm Sally Stang. I'm the Housing and Community Services Director for the city. We have really in-depth plans and partnerships. Right now, we have a contract with the Substance Abuse Center of Kansas, who's working in depth with our care teams now. They will be on site at the center. Now, anybody who we come across that's in need of mental health or substance abuse care will be transported to those appropriate locations, whether that's the crisis center, whether that's for detox. Those kind of activities aren't going to be happening on site, but evaluations of folks who may have substance abuse or mental health concerns will absolutely be happening on site. That's the beauty of this plan. The idea is to bring all of the partners together so that we can address as a team each person's individual needs and have a warm handoff to that, not just give somebody an appointment card and say, find your way to ComCare 3 weeks from now, right? So I hope that answers that question, and I'm here also if you have any others.
Is this going to be public-private funding?
Absolutely, public-private funding. Right now, we are working, what we're hearing from the private sector is we want to see a plan, we want to see how it's moving forward, and we want to invest in that plan because we understand how much homelessness is hurting our community now. It hurts us in the pocketbooks and it hurts us in our hearts, and they want to be part of that plan going forward.
It's very much needed. I hope you have the same enthusiasm, 10 years from now.
Any other questions of the applicant or agent? If not, I'd like to call on anybody from the public that would like to speak on this. Please come forward and give us your name and address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay. I am Saper Mitchell, and I live at 1074 North Water, adjacent to the school where they're trying to put the homeless, and I am asking you not to put them there. I feel for the homeless. I feel for them. They need the help, but this is a residential area. Who is going to be responsible for them when they come and spend the night and they leave? Where are they going? Are they going to pick up these people and take them somewhere else, or they're just going to let them walk the streets? We have already had where they have put tents behind our homes, set the fences on fire, and so we had to go. They're trashy. They're, and I feel for them because they need the help. But I just don't feel in a residential area that these homeless people needs to be there. I get up every morning to go to work. I don't want to face a person that is mentally challenged to come and attack me on the street before I can get in my car to go to work. I know on Broadway, they have just trashed the place. We have four like McDonald's and all them that has closed because of the homeless. We have 4 Popeyes, McDonald's, Subway. We had a little Spanish restaurant. They have all closed because of the homeless has come and attacked people that is coming into their residence. And so we just don't feel that this is a place, if nobody's going to, the fences can go up, but if they're going to let them out and then just let them wander around every morning, who is going to protect the residents? We have already had this. We've had to call the police on them. They broke in our backyard. It's just not a good thing unless somebody is going to sit there and watch them or take them to somewhere else. When they get out in the morning, they're going to stay overnight. When they get out in the morning, are they just going to be able to roam the streets? I just don't feel like this is a place where you have children, and we have children on our street, to let the homeless just wander around. That is all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this? If not, I will call on the applicant for 2 minutes rebuttal.
Sally Stang, once again, thank you so much. And I absolutely agree with you. When I first got here, one of the things I said is we operate our homeless services like it's 1990, not like it's the 21st century. The idea of having homeless shelters that have people in at night and then just ask for them to roam neighborhoods, during the day just to come back at night is not the model that we need. We need services, and that is what we are planning to do, is 24/7, 365. That way people can be working with caseworkers. There's not a need to push people out into the communities when we're bringing in caseworkers to help with finding jobs, connecting people to resources. That's what's going to clean up the mess on Topeka, absolutely, because that's what's happening now in our community, is they go for an overnight shelter and then they're told they have to leave in the morning. Take your items with you. Go find a job. Yeah, carrying all of your items with you. I'm gonna walk in a business and find a job. In this day and age, people find jobs through computers. They find jobs through connections with Workforce Alliance and other workforce development programs. And so by having a comprehensive site where people can have their needs addressed, and we absolutely have to build this as a place that people in need want to come, and keep it safe, and safety to our neighbors and safety to the people there are of our prime concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bring it back to the commission at this point for discussion and action.
Make a motion that we approve subject to staff comments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. McKay and a second from Mr. Aldrich. Any further discussion?
I appreciate the gals. I didn't catch your name. I appreciate your comments. I feel your pain. No matter where this goes, that's going to be unless you can find a desert someplace, you can put them 100 miles from someplace. You're going to find a neighborhood or a business not going to want it. So we just got to hope that the people that do it right and protect the neighborhoods as best they can.
Well, I know there's a number of nonprofit organizations that's working with the homeless at this point in time. It seems like they take one step forward and half a step back because of financing or whatever it might be. And this might be able to be the catalyst that puts it all together.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have one more item on the agenda. We have a presentation on the it's a city CIP.
Good afternoon, Planning Commission members. I am actually here to talk about the capital improvement program for Sedgwick County. For the record, my name is Lynn Packer. I am Sedgwick County's Director of Public Works and County Engineer. Today, I actually will be here presenting both for the drainage and infrastructure projects as well as the facilities projects. Our facilities manager had a conflict today. So we'll get right into it. The next slide. We come up every year and we present our proposed projects to you. This year so far, we have presented to the Advanced Plans Committee. So some of you have already heard part of this presentation. That was on June 13th. The manager presented this to the Board of County Commissioners on July 10th. And then today we're here presenting for MAPC, and then it will be discussion items at 2 commission meetings before it is hopefully adopted on August 21st at the budget adoption. Next slide, please. So I've told you that we are here every year. We're here because of KSA 12748, which mandates that the Planning Commission make an determination that our CIP, our Capital Improvement Program, is in conformance with the current comprehensive plan before we construct any of the projects listed that we're talking about. And, it never hurts to just have a sneak peek at what we're doing. Next slide, please. The current comprehensive plan was approved by the County Commission on January 20th, 2016. Or I should say it was adopted by them on 2016. And this plan sets the goals and standards that guide our projects. We're here today seeking a finding from this commission that our CIP is in conformance with this plan. Next slide, please. The first up, we'll get into the projects. And I know you guys have already been here for quite a bit. I have been here for the entire meeting as well. So we're going to get through this as quickly as possible while still allowing for you guys to ask questions and get the full content. I do realize that you guys received some of this information ahead of time, hard copies, so I won't go into detail on each of these projects, but we'll go to the next slide and we'll start with our Category 1 projects. As we've explained in past years, we have 4 categories of projects, and as it would suggest with our Category 1, these are our highest priority projects. These are long-term preventive maintenance projects, or those that are consistent or have been deemed to be of the highest priority. Our first one on that list is our flood control system repair. Flood control is a city-county department combined, and this is for their major maintenance projects. This is basically represents half of what their budget is that they're requesting. So we have $3.7 million over the 5 years. And again, that's the county's portion. The city is requesting an equal portion on their side. Underneath that, we have our standard preventive maintenance projects with replacing roofs, parking lots. We have a long-term emergency management siren replacement and new installations that's ongoing. We have upgrades that are going on at the main courthouse, the historic courthouse, elevators. We have PC upgrades for the juvenile court. The PCs control their access, their doors, and that's what we're talking about with those PC upgrades. And then a big one, $11.5 million is being sought after for the building automation systems and basically the HVAC systems at the adult detention facility, or whatever one calls the jail. And that's like I said, $11.5 million ask. Next page, please. Continuing on with the rest of the Category 1 projects, we have additional upgrades to the jail annex, water heaters and boilers, basically a restoration of the jail kitchen, and we also are looking at a new salt storage building at the East Yard for Public Works. That is going to be a fabric structure that you may have seen in a lot of different areas now. It is going to replace a extremely small 40-plus year building that will completely change their operations at the East Yard. You will notice right there in the middle, a big ask of $20 million for the juvenile community-based services building. What they're basically looking at doing is taking the juvenile residential facility, the juvenile field services, and their home-based services and putting them in one location. So you're going to have basically allow for all those services to be under one roof. They're going to be able to more efficiently utilize their space. Those plans are under design right now this year, and it's slated for construction starting in next year with that $20 million price tag. In addition, we also have to fill out the rest of the Category 1 projects. We have improvements for water heater replacements. This is a continuation of there at the adult detention facility, EMS access control upgrades, and basically at the historic courthouse, that's where we have a lot of our servers located, what we call our data center, and we're looking at upgrading the cooling systems there at that building. We have a total ask in our Category 1 projects of just over $48 million. Next slide, please. So Category 2, as it suggests, not as imperative as Category 1, but still assigned a year, usually within the 26-27 timeframe. These projects are, the first couple of projects on there are basically replacement structures at Lake Afton Park and Sedgwick County Parks. We have vehicle storage buildings to go in at 3 different public works yards. The goal of those is to get our vehicles that don't have space that are left outdoors to be indoors to increase their life expectancy. We have additional security improvements that are going on at the main courthouse and EMS, and basically replacement of the original 1987 laundry equipment that went in at the jail, replacing the majority of their washers and dryers. Next slide, please. Additional upgrades include basically electrical upgrades and boiler upgrades. We have a theme with the facilities over these next 5 years, with it being a lot of HVAC systems, water heater systems. All the systems were put in around the same time, so of course they come up, end of life comes up about the same time. They are trying to spread these over years, though, to eliminate the need for major funding all at one time. But they are looking at replacing them, multiple EMS facilities as well. A little bit different, the sheriff firing range, they have a building out there where they conduct training. That is in need of some foundation repair. And then the appraiser's office is looking at reconfiguring to their space to allow increased office space for additional personnel that are in the budget. Category 2 is a $4.6 million ask. As we move on to the next slide, we get into Category 3. Not a long list, but it does include some efficiencies, as well as, again, changing out legacy systems and facilities to make improvements as needed, because they're beyond their end of life, such as the showers at the adult residential facility, the main courthouse, and actually redoing our ADA evaluation. We had an ADA, Americans with Disability Act evaluation done about a little over 10 years ago. A lot of projects and improvements were made with that. We're looking, now that that's done, we're looking at reevaluating and making sure that we are keeping up with current ADA practices and needs. And the Category 3 funding comes to $1.4 million is the request. Next slide, we'll go on to our Category 4, which is a watch list, appropriately named is exactly what you think. We need some more information. These have not been plugged into a specific budget year. They include skip the page here. They are a lot of increase in efficiencies, both for EMS, parks, as well as improving some power efficiencies at the main courthouse, historic courthouse. Lake Afton Park and Sedgwick County Park are looking for some security surveillance cameras, as well as some renovations of their gazebos and shelters. The next slide, if I could please, finishes out the watch list with, again, some improvements at the parks and the main courthouse. The watch list has a total of $14.5 million in total requests at this time. But again, Category 4, this is just a watch list. The next slide, we will go into the total funding. We have a total funding for the facilities portions of this, facilities and drainage, of $54.5 million. These projects are covered. The reason why drainage and facilities are together is these are covered by property tax funding, and like I said, $54.5 million, of which 3.7 of that is for the flood control. And next, we can skip the next slide and go right into the majority. We can skip that. That's just the funding source showing that we are paying for that with both bond and cash. Next slide, please. Now we will get on to the roads and bridges, or infrastructure portions of the projects. We'll go to the next slide. We kind of cover this each year. I like to put this out there. Some of you heard this before, but we have 603 miles of roads we currently maintain and 606 bridges. Forgive me for those, but I love saying this. It is a feather in our caps in Public Works. We maintain more bridges than any other jurisdiction in the state of Kansas, with the exception of KDOT. And we have 606 bridges that require biennial inspections. So we inspect those bridges every 2 years. We have over 19 miles now of multi-use paths. You will see we're adding on to that with this proposed and recommended CIP. We also maintain over 14,000 traffic signs and markers and 32 traffic signals. A lot of people don't think about it this way, but in the unincorporated Sedgwick County, with 1.66 million miles traveled per day. And it kind of puts things in perspective. You know, we have a lot of traffic that are in and out of cities, but a lot of that traffic is heading to, you know, Derby and Andover and other places, and they're using the unincorporated roads for that. Next slide. All our projects for Public Works are categorized into 4 main categories. That's to maintain, to enhance, to expand, and add quality of life. Our goals are on the next slide. We have 2 main primary goals, and that is to perform preventive maintenance on roads about every 6 to 7 years. We do an evaluation system, but it does typically end up in that 6 to 7, 6 to 8 year mark that usually we end up doing something with our roads. We also have a goal of replacing or rehabilitating our bridges on an average of 30,000 square feet per year. We have 2.1 million square feet of bridge deck, and so we're eyeing a 70-year lifespan for our bridges with that type of goal. Next slide, please. So from last year to this year, our CIP proposed changes include increased funding on several of our projects. Go figure, labor and materials just keep increasing, and so therefore we adjust our CIP accordingly to make sure that we can let these projects for construction. We have 7 new bridge projects and 5 new road projects that have been added to the CIP in the outer years. We've pushed out the Calfskin Creek Watershed Project from 2026 to 2029. That was at the request of the city of Wichita because the funding they were seeking did not come through. We are partnering with them on that project. We then went ahead and accelerated other projects in our CIP to make up for that hole. In addition to partnering with the city of Wichita, we're also partnering with Valley Center on projects. And then we also, you will see later on, that we're partnering with Butler County through WAMPO projects as well. Next project, please, or slide. So in maintaining our road system, maintaining our roads and bridges makes up the bulk of our projects. These are projects like our annual preventive maintenance projects and our bridge replacement and rehabilitation projects. We have about $1 million, exactly $1 million we're asking for utility and right-of-way relocations. We're looking for preventive maintenance of $55 million over the 5 years, and doing drainage projects totaling with a budget of about $3.6 million. Next slide, please. We have 1 rehabilitation project that will be constructed in 2025, which is a bridge rehab project. We also recently learned that that's going to receive WAMPO funding. The good news about that is that'll be federal funds that'll come in and help with that project and reduce the local sales tax that'll be used on that project. We have 29 bridges that we're proposing to be replaced in the CIP at a cost of about $28 million over the 5 years. And there are a total of 31 bridge projects that have been identified in the 25 through 29 CIP, plus another 4 to 5 that we will receive maintenance work under our CIP for major bridge maintenance, totaling about $1.58 million. Next project, or slide, keep saying that. Under enhancements for our road system, these are the type of projects that are like widening roads and bridges, adding center turn lanes, and maintaining roadside improvements. We have a project that will add shoulder. If you're familiar with Ridge Road north of 53rd Street, we are widening the shoulders along that. It's a heavily used trucking route in addition to just daily commute traffic, and that's a $2.4 million project. We also have MacArthur safety improvements that have been added on there. That is for West MacArthur area, west of K42. And we're proposing our first roundabout at 21st Street North and 167th West. Next project, please. Or slide. We have a total of 5 road reconstruction projects for $12.65 million. And overall, we have 5 of those projects and 4 more projects that will pave current gravel roads and increase them to paved roads at those locations noted. Next slide, please. For expanding road systems, we have these are the type of projects that will take a 2-lane road to a 3 or 4-lane road, or this will be constructing a brand new road like we talked about ARC 95. We are continuing to invest in the future expansion of our road system with the Northwest Expressway. We continue to put $10 million into that. KDOT provides a dollar-for-dollar match of that funding up to $1 million. We also receive funding from the cities of Mays and Goddard to participate also in that project. So that gets us $10 million over the 5 years of funding for obtaining right-of-way and preparing that project for design. You also may have heard that the East Kellogg is being expanded and improved, as well as, and then after that, K96 will go through expansion. We are also participating with the City of Wichita and KDOT in those projects, and we're contributing $8.3 million toward those improvements. Next slide, please. For our quality of place, this is where we're going to talk about bike paths, sidewalks, improvements to public parks and public spaces. Those are the type of projects we have here. The Maple Street pathway is something we talked about last year, and that's currently under design. And this project complements 2 other Wichita projects that are not quite, I don't think the first one's under design yet, but in the next 10 years, they'll only make improvements to that category, to that corridor as well, that will connect Wichita and Goddard. We also have added on a 63rd Street pathway. Currently, there's a 2.5-mile gap between the Butler County line and where we have our bike path going into a subdivision on Linray Street, close to just on the east side of Greenwich. We're going to fill that gap up and connect basically the path systems in Rose Hill, City of Rose Hill and Butler to Derby. So there will be a complete system through there that will connect, and that actually will also connect to Wichita as well. We did receive WAMPO funding for both those projects. So although we're putting in a total investment of basically $3.9 million into those projects, local sales tax wise, we're looking at less than $1 million that will go into that. Next slide, please. So I promise you I'm finishing up here. So I appreciate everyone staying awake for this. The county expenditures looked in a pie graph look like this. We're spending almost $60 million for road maintenance, $30 million for bridge maintenance, $27 million worth of sport enhancements to our infrastructure, $13.3 million that are just the local contributions to the Northwest Expressway, the East Kellogg and K96 projects. And we're investing $3.9 million, as I just mentioned, for the quality of place bike path projects. But thanks to WAMPO, it'll actually be locally just an impact of about $990,000. Which leads us to back full circle to why we're here. On the next slide, The community investments plan includes 2 goals for transportation. The first states that the community investments transportation goal number 1 is to preserve and maintain a safe, cost-effective, and reliable transportation system. We feel that we've met this goal by investing 68% of our infrastructure projects in preservation of a system that is already rated in good condition. We're also planning strategic enhancements where needed to other parts of to our infrastructure. And then on the next slide, the community investments transportation goal number 2 is to improve and increase the movement of goods, people, and information. Again, we feel we've met this goal as well by investing in bicycle and pedestrian facilities that connect cities. We're also continuing to invest in regional projects like the Northwest Expressway addition and the East Kellogg and K96 expansion projects. Each of these will increase the movement of goods and people throughout the region. Next slide, please. So our requested action today is that we're requesting that the MAPC find the proposed capital improvement program to be in conformance with the community investments plan. And I stand for any questions.
Mr. Aldridge.
Have you ever put any consideration to maybe either selling or privatizing Sedgwick County Park, or even bartering with the city of Wichita to take it over?
There are actually, I'm not part of them, but I do know that the chair and pro tem are in talks with Wichita about combining our forces with the Parks Department for exactly that, looking at trying to reduce resources so that we can but still maintain them in like or better condition.
Thanks.
So do we need a motion now to
If you'd put the motion
accept
back
this?
up, put the motion back up on the screen, I'll be happy to make it.
We want to state that we are in compliance with the city budget. Is that what it is?
The county budget, yeah.
County.
No, with the that it's in conformity with the comprehensive plan.
Yes, I make the motion that the 5-year plan is in conformity with the master plan.
We have a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Joe Johnson, second by Mr. Warren. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign, or
Thank you very much. At the end of a long meeting, I appreciate you
thank you.
entertaining me.
I appreciate your attendance today.
Recording stopped.